I think for me, it's the misinformation part. I think that's the. I think that's where we running into. That's why. I guess John Henry Clarke came up with the Iceman Inheritance, that book. I
I
think
don't think
that's
he didn't come up with that. He tripping.
no. I didn't say he came up with it. I said he
You
wrote
just
the
said.
intro to it.
I thought I said. I guess. I think you said. I guess John Henry Clarke came up with the Iceman inheritance.
I must no. But writing. Chef said something crazy this morning that I just caught. But uh, he said I saw that book in the store and I picked it up and bought it and read it because it had John Henry Clark's name on the front. And then when you
I never
actually
read the
read that,
Iceman inheritance. I read the Two Cradle Theory. We recently went back over that, but I never read Iceman inheritance.
yeah, and you're like, why the hell would he write an intro to this book? Like, that's not even. This book is like it's giving wild justifications for white supremacy that's based in nothing. And the guy ain't even like the guy who wrote it. He's not like a fellow scholar or whatever. The guy's a scammer. He's scamming too. He's talking
There's a
about
guy.
he got a degree and he's a Nobel Peace Prize and all kind of shit. And the schools don't know who he is. Nobel don't know who he is. And he's just talking about white people is inherently violent because they grew up in cold cultures and shit. Like all these excuses for white supremacy. Why the fuck is he writing the intro for that fucking book? That makes no sense.
There's a book called um, Troublesome Inheritance.
Uh
Right?
huh.
I don't think it's a coincidence that it's titled that way.
Mm
There's also a book that Charles Murray was co-signing. Right, he was actually excited about its release.
hmm. Mm hmm.
That book gets pretty much gets the same treatment or reaction that the Bell Curve did. Because I read another book by him, this guy named Nicholas Wade called The Faith Instinct. Right, you're a good writer,
Mm
and that book posits that what we see in the all the things that the Europeans went through is what makes them pretty much basically place them at the top of the food chain over other groups or races.
Yeah, Nicholas Wade. I'm
Uh,
reading it too.
Yeah,
I'm
troublesome
looking at
inheritance.
it now. 2014.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's just
yeah.
like that don't as much as you've heard John Henry Clarke, did you know he wrote that intro?
No, I don't know. I didn't know you would forward or not. No.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
Did-
It's slap crazy. It's just
Go ahead.
slap crazy.
Did you get a Chat GPT breakdown on this intro?
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, no. I actually no, I didn't. No, I didn't. You're
No,
right.
I ain't
I
never
got an
really.
intro on the book. And I don't know what he's. That's a good point. That's a good point. Let me
Much I
see
know
what
about
he's saying.
Clark is from his own words, shit like that. But like I said, I don't really speak on Iceman Heritage. I ain't read no parts of that shit. I don't really, I don't know what's even in that book at all. Mm.
Let you read the end of the book. Iceman Inheritance. What did they say? I gotta start I don't really my brain don't work like y'all's. I'm very careful with well, I used to be now in this community I'm not. But I'm very careful about some of the shit that I be reading. Cause that I'm one of those rabbit hole readers where I'll only mean to read a page and then I look up, I done bought everything by the motherfucker, reading this, that, and the third. That's why I'm very careful about trying not to. I am the I am an indoctrination waiting to happen. That's why I try my best to like if I see I'm going too far away from my own worldview, I try to come back, center myself immediately.
I mean, I like to look at I think I'm always, you gotta always like self reflect. So I look at, what I mean, I look at like I read both sides, and no matter where my thinking is at the time, if it's scientific or even if it's social political type ideas, if you can make an argument strong enough to make me add something to it or change it, you got a shot. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that helped me get to where I am, get me out of. If I didn't have that idea or that type of thinking, I would have never got through Ancient Aliens. You know what I'm saying? So it's that type of thing. I go, okay, you say it's bullshit. You say this could be debunked. Let me see what you got.
Right.
You know what? Okay, you know what? You're right. You're right. This is absolutely bullshit, and I'm done with it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know what I mean? Just move on. You know?
So Haskell it says John Henry Clarke contributes a new introduction in 1990. It's funny, 1990 Iceman Inheritance, 91 ISIS Papers, positioning Michael Bradley's provocative thesis. They use the word thesis so wrong, but okay, moving forward, it's irritating. As a necessary corrective to Eurocentric distortions of global history. So that seems to be on par with what he does. So he argues that Europeans rewrote global history in their favor, minimizing African civilizations while elevating their own cultural narrative. But then he echoes Bradley's assertion that European aggression has deep prehistoric roots and continued colonization reflects an inherited psychobiological legacy shaped during Ice Age evolution. Clarke frames these ideas as urgent for non-white scholars to reclaim historical truth. If non-whites were students of history, we would recognize that there was no Europe in ancient times. He sees Bradley's work not as pseudoscience, but as resistance scholarship. I never heard that word before, but that's a good description. As resistance scholarship that calls out European record changing and systemic misinformation. Clarke aligns Bradley with thinkers like Francis Cress Wilson, arguing that Western civilization is haunted by an inferiority complex that manifests in violence and domination. The same bullshit. The same thing.
Haskell wonder.
I don't know, Haskell. I read it for him.
Nah, I ain't got nothing. I just wanted to get the. I do got a request though.
But
Can we run what's the name through there? Charles Darwin. Was he a racist?
yo, you're
And
so
that's what
diabolical.
I
You're
get it.
so
I get it, Haskell,
diabolical.
because now
You're
it's all in
so
the game. It's all in
diabolical
the
at
game.
times.
But it's out, yeah,
Darwin's
yeah. But his
Darwin
work
was
is still pivotal.
definitely, yeah. Darwin was. I'm not qualified.
No, I'm saying put it in Chat GPT. I'm curious.
What specific? Why y'all screwing up my Chat GPT? Don't we all got a Chat GPT? If this shit gets put to the government, I could be a fucking. If I do any murder at all, this is my manifesto that I'm searching up. Y'all understand that, bro? My ChatGPT will be used against me in court, which actually, y'all need to look up ChatGPT and them rules. Do you know that there's no rules against that for AI yet? They haven't created.
Yeah,
They haven't. They
anything
haven't
you put
created.
into Chat GPT can be
Yeah,
used in the court of law. Absolutely.
you see, Mel. They try to send me to jail, Mel. They try to get me out
And
of
Mel
here.
said that. Mel came in and said it the other day. He made an announcement, so everybody know. Any information put in ChatGPT can be turned over to
Because the
jail.
owner said he's mad because they won't create the laws because it's such a new kind of thing. They won't even create it, and he's like, "This is kind of this is difficult, but yeah, it's the easiest shit in the world." But no, I've already looked that up when somebody said that on a PK show a long time ago about him, and they were saying how he was racist. It's funny. It's kind of like Sosa and them argument that he was racist. It's not weird for him to be racist based on the times, but that he also spoke out against racism, which is weird. I mean, I could look it up again to get the specifics, but he was actually against a lot of the racist tones of that time too. And then his work actually, when he tested, it works. So they kind of stayed out of it because the evolutionary theory was more of a human thing versus a race thing. But I'll look it up. Now, what's your issue with Darwin, though?
Going back up.
I don't got no issue with him. He's dead. But I mean, as per
Yeah,
the
you be saying some crazy shit. I got an issue with it. He's fucking dead. You got no issue with it. It says no. I said it's Dar. It says Charles Darwin was not racist in the same way as Michael Bradley or Francis Cress Welsing, and it says the differences are critical in intent, framework, and impact. Darwin was still a man of his time, and some of his language reflects
So
19th
hold on.
century. Go ahead.
Pause on. So
People
why
have to separate Darwin from social Darwinists because social Darwinists have, in the past, shown that they are racist, but Darwin
That's not
himself.
Darwin, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's not Darwin.
yeah, stick a pin. Why aren't John Henry Clarke and Cress Wilson afforded the same rationalization as Darwin? The whole
They was about to explain.
Because
They
they
was about to explain.
posited theories on race and the differences. You know what I mean? So that's racism.
It explains. It says Darwin's core theory, evolution by natural selection, was not based on fixed racial hierarchies or superiority. Its variation within species, adaptation to environment, survival and reproduction over time. Unlike Bradley, Welsing, Clarke, Darwin did not argue that any race was inherently violent, inferior, or morally defective due to genetics. But they do say, for you, Haskell, in support, problematic passages in Darwin's writings. In The Descent of Man, 1871, it says, at some future period, not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace the savage races throughout the world.
and for
This
this,
passage
you're
is,
better off.
yeah, it says this passage is quoted to prove he was a white supremacist, but context matters. He was describing what he saw happening, not prescribing it. He viewed cultural advancement in Victorian terms, and that bias is real. But he also repeatedly said all humans share a common origin, which undermines biblical race myths used to justify slavery. So he opposed slavery and wrote against racial cruelty, especially in South
I
America.
have to question Brass
Yeah,
because they edited that or they didn't read the entire the quote there. So at the end of the quote,
It's about
not only
gorillas.
does it's not. No, he was talking about humans. But at the end of the quote, he not only says that this isn't like a bystander that's observing human behavior, right?
mm-hmm.
He gives an opinion on that behavior and what it would mean for mankind overall. So towards the end of that very same sentence that you were reading about, when the civilized races clear off the uncivilized and savage, he says this action will, in totality, raise the rank of humankind. So not only does he believe that this will happen as just a natural course of human evolution, he believes mankind, when looked at as a unit, this clearing off of these savage races will be beneficial to humankind overall. If that doesn't qualify as the most virulent kind of racism, then
Put
I
that
don't
in the
know.
chat GPT.
No,
You
I
said
think
he
I think
believes
the I
mankind
think
as a
that
unit.
He messing that up. Put that in chat GPT.
culture. It was talking about that civilized culture would extend to savage culture. That means so not the people, and that was those savages becoming civilized. That are savages at that time.
You're in the matrix,
Culture,
chef.
they would then become civilized and live. That's what
You're in the
I'm
matrix,
saying.
chef. You're in the matrix, chef.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Say what you're saying now. You clear now.
Oh, he was saying basically that the civilized cultures, right, would then engulf the savage cultures and not
Damn, every time he
races,
start cooking,
but
that shit
their
get crazy.
culture would be lifted up. Dang, fuck.
No, you clear
Don't worry
now.
about it. Y'all can
Yeah.
explain it.
Well, I got the gist. So, but
No,
so I put it in
what I'm
ChatGPT.
saying is that the savage. Go ahead.
No, go, bro. Why you got a connection?
Oh, it's saying that the savage races, right, is talking about their cultures. You know, what I mean? Extinguished by cultures. You dig what I'm saying? And that would then, in turn, by the savage races' cultures being extinguished by civilization, then the whole humanity will be raised. You know what I mean? Because people accept this civilized culture. I think that's what he was, you know what I mean, saying in a colorful
He's saying
way. You
that
dig what I'm saying?
the extermination of these peoples will be better off or will benefit humankind overall. That happening will benefit us. That's what he
Put it
says.
in
Don't
chat
dress
GPT.
it up. That's
I
what he
did. I
said.
was just waiting on Chef to finish. I did.
Yeah.
I
Put
was
it
just
in
waiting
chat
on Chef.
GPT and then have it break it down like we're in 5th grade or something.
Okay. Let me change. Let me add that. Write that down. So for the regular, while it's breaking that down, it gives me the whole quote. So the whole quote it says, I put what you said, Haskell. Did he believe that mankind as a unit would be more beneficial and well off if the savages were removed? And it says, yes, you're referencing one of the most quoted and controversial passages from Charles Darwin. It reflects the Eurocentric language, blah, blah, blah. But it's crucial to separate what Darwin actually argued from what is often projected onto him. The full quote in context is, at some future period, not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace the savage races throughout the world. At the same time, the anthropomorphous apes, never said that word before, will no doubt be exterminated. The break between man and his nearest allies will then be wider, for it will intervene between man and a more civilized state, as we may low as a baboon instead of as now between the Negro or Australian and the gorilla. The reason why this is so disturbing is Darwin groups non-European peoples, Negro or Australian, as closer to apes in a hierarchy. He predicts the extermination not with moral outrage, but as a natural consequence of progress. He uses language like savage versus civilized, which reflects colonial racial attitudes. But it says the key is, did Darwin support extermination? No. He just accepted it as a likely outcome. He was describing, not advocating for genocide, but he was doing it with a cold detachment, the reason why he was connected to it, failing to morally challenge European imperialism, even though he opposed slavery. And framing human groups as stages of evolutionary development, which fed into later eugenic thinking, even if he didn't directly promote it. So when I said break it down like a 5th grader, it says what I said, break it down like a 5th grader. Go ahead.
I have 2 comments.
You got that one, Haskell. You got that.
I got a comment on that too.
Haskell.
Yeah. So I just say it anyway. So strike one. He has a hierarchy, and in that hierarchy, Black people, Negroes, are right next to apes. With just a little slight, right? Just a little slight evolved from them. And then secondly, he believes the extermination of the quote unquote savage races will be a benefit to humankind. I think it's case closed.
Case closed.
This is messing with me for some reason, but go ahead, Mel. I feel like I got to do some kind of different research because I feel like I've looked at Darwin enough to where I didn't get that. So I got to look at that. But go ahead, Mel. You said you want to say something?
We read that quote a whole bunch of times with ChatGPT, and we was fussing with that same quote, but ChatGPT definitely just framed it right for us because this quote, we argued this quote for years. You know what I mean? And ChatGPT just cleared that shit up.
So
one thing we got Charles Darwin? What y'all talking about?
Yeah, Darwin. Yeah. Go ahead, Mel.
Darwin.
Okay. Yeah, so one thing we got to keep in mind is the the theme at the time. When you talk about like European science in the 19th century, a lot of Charles Darwin's views on humans was shaped by the climate at the time. So when you think about many other European scientists, such as Blumenbach, such as Arthur de Gobineau, a lot of them have formulated the idea of groups of humans ranked by intelligence and morality and the capacity to grow civilization. So this already existed before and after Darwin. So he comes into this type of environment, and a lot of his views are going to be shaped by them. Even though his framework on the theory of evolution was challenging or revolutionary, if you will, the European powers that be and how they understood, humans and how they understood science was deeply shaped a different way. So we can't entirely blame racism on Darwin when it existed prior to him based on his environment.
Hey, Mel.
Nobody
Yeah.
blamed them.
No, we're not blaming them. We just calling
I'm not saying anyone is. I'm just saying we have to look at the influence on, other anthropologists, naturalists, and scientists that he engaged with, like Huxley, like Haeckel. They were very Eurocentric, but Darwin himself was also very progressive for his time. He rejected a lot of the biblical ideas of like the human creation and human family. So his views were separate from, I guess you could say, like the status quo at the time.
In the 50s, Mel, my father always tells me a story about that. In the 50s, when the cops came to your house for a disturbance, if they opened the door and saw your wife had a black eye, that they would literally say, "Did you sort it out?" And you could say yes, and they tip their cap and leave. Now, I'm sure that was just a sign of the times, but it was still crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I get that he was progressive.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong.
Most law enforcement, even today, don't want to deal with domestic issues.
Now, today it's whoever gets to the phone first. That's my
even if they do get to the phone. Today it's like, okay, we understood that y'all had a fight and whatever. Have y'all resolved that shit, or is somebody still getting their ass beat? If somebody's getting their ass beat, then they need to leave the house for a while, calm down, and then until y'all fix this shit. The only time they get involved is when they have to.
Right. I could dig that.
And we got proof of that as the numbers, the statistics from domestic cases from COVID. We got proof of that.
So, and to listen, like Darwin, like we now have the hindsight of the validation of Darwin, right? You understand? He's putting forth this shit. I don't even think scientific journals didn't even exist back then. I'm not mistaken. I don't think that shit was coming about really flooded like the 1960s.
Yeah, you talking about the 19th century? So no.
Yeah, so we have we had the hindsight of seeing he was validated. So this is him putting forth ideas at a time when almost all natural philosophers at that time were creationists. So he's breaking away from a completely different mold that
Absolutely.
existed, at that time.
That's my point, and people have to acknowledge that. Like he's kind of revolutionary.
Context is like crucial.
But for him to be so intelligent,
for
him to be so intelligent and still put us close to apes and savages and uncivilized and stuff. Let me just say this.
What does uncivilized mean? What does uncivilized mean?
No. I don't even want to get into that. I want to ask you a separate question before we get into that. Can you understand why when people say he was a racist, can you understand what they're like? What do you think when Haskell says it or somebody? Do you just completely disagree, or do you say
I can
I
understand
do
why he thinks that
understand?
way.
Okay.
I understand why he thinks that way. Yeah,
Okay.
and if he'd have spoke that way in 2025, of course,
Right.
hands down. You know what I'm saying? I was saying we're doing intelligence like it doesn't exist on a scale like everybody has the same amount of knowledge. No, you know what I mean? Like now, he's got the intelligence level of people at that time. You know what I'm saying? The thinking at that time, and he's new. He's fresh out the gate. Like he's not. There's not a lot of people in front of him. He's fresh out the gate, breaking away from traditional mode. But like I said, what we call savage, what he's calling savage, he's talking about like those hunter gatherers that you call that we today would call uncivilized. You know what I'm saying? That's a racist. That's a race. You know what I mean? We'd be like, yo, you can't do it like that now. But we still do. But that's what he's talking about. You know what I mean? But so,
What was he talking about when he said Negro?
when he said Negro,
Yeah, when he says
what he's
Negroes are
talking
like
about?
right next to apes on the hierarchical ladder. What did he mean by Negro?
Yeah, blacks.
Okay, so we have a hierarchy and we have blacks at the bottom. So
Right.
everything I've heard you guys say,
Put it in chat
hold on,
GPT. Did you do it, Brad?
hold on.
We'll do what? Put
Everything,
what? Yeah. Yeah. You know. Go ahead. Go
real
ahead.
quick,
Haskell, finish your thought.
real
Finish your
quick. So everything I've heard serves to explain possibly why he was racist. It doesn't deny his racism though. Also on top of that, you had Europeans that are around the same time as Darwin, and they didn't espouse those ideas and they rejected those ideas. So I don't know. So you guys are denying that he was a racist, Sosa and Mel.
So you got to also understand that the influence of that 19th century European science-based culture had those views.
Yeah, it was
So
inherently racist. Like it was
correct.
baked into the cake.
Because he was operating within that type of environment, he did accept a lot of, I would say, descriptions. But he had his own framework. He had his own understanding. He also made a quote. I believe it's. Let me pull it up. I want to make sure I properly quote him.
Is he?
Can
we deal with that quote though? Can we deal with that quote?
Yeah, we can. But I know he had another quote that stated the difference between something found in a gorilla that's absent in the Negro. But let me find it. Hold on.
He didn't say that the Negro and the gorilla was the same. He said that we were close. You did what I'm saying? So of course there would be differences.
So I put in what did he mean by Negro at the time. Now here's the thing though. Somebody got to mute up. It says that it does say that even scientists at the time thought he was a little troubling. It says even while doing all of that, it says it shows that he has a moral compass and he broke with hardline racist science of his time at points. But here's the problem. Even while doing all of that, he still described Black and indigenous people as savage, said they were closer to apes than Europeans, predicted their extermination as part of human progress, and he wrote with a very weird, eerie, cold detachment about colonized peoples being wiped out. And it says that's just not just bad by today's standards. Some of his peers even saw him as cold and troubling in his own time while rejecting his work. So it says
that shit racist. I don't know what y'all doing now.
Yeah, it says I put what did he mean by Negro at the time, and it says in 19th century Negro was a common scientific and social term used by Europeans and Americans to refer to sub-Saharan African people of African descent in the Americas. Negro was used to describe physical traits. Skin color, hair, nose, skull shape. It was a racial classification system. Caucasoid, Mongoloid, Negroid. But Darwin's use of Negro is more of an ape. What the fuck? It says Darwin uses Negro in The Descent of Man in passages like The break in evolution will then be between man in a more civilized state and some ape as low as a baboon, instead of as now between the Negro or Australian and the gorilla. So what he meant was Negro were people of African descent, Australians were Aboriginal people, and what he was trying to say is the evolutionary gap between humans and apes is currently small because some races, like Negroes and Aboriginals, are so close to apes, and hopefully in the future it will widen. He says that's not the language of the time. He was creating a hierarchy. Europeans at the top, black and indigenous people equals near apes, and apes were the lowest. So even if he didn't mean to be hateful, it's racist thinking and racist writing, not just outdated vocabulary or the vocabulary of the time. So when he said Negro, Haskell, it says he wasn't naming a group. He was making sure to place them in a racial ladder close to animals. Even if that was normal then, it's racist. Just because it's a lie is common doesn't make it less dangerous.
And that's what I'm saying. That's how they identified their order at the time. So that's his influence.
Troubling though. That's a little troubling though.
It is troubling,
That's
but
what they're working with.
That's what it was at the time in the 19th century.
So what does that mean? Hold on. Why do y'all keep saying that? Well, we understand that was the language at the time, but we're saying that it's racist. How do you justify? Yeah, that's all we saying.
It's not.
It's racist, and it was racist for that time.
A lot of people bring him up, even when talking about taboo topics today. In that video I sent with Glenn Lowry, he made that same connection, talking about how Darwin had a lot of dangerous, I guess to some people it was dangerous, but when you talk about the scientific method and having a certain like, again, this is the uncomfortable part. Like even Richard Haya says, if a racist applies the scientific method and takes that racism out of his assessment into trying to find replicated data, is it as problematic as we may seem? Yes, the problem is that they're racist, but again, science, as time goes on, is going to replicate, is going to improve, and decades from now, people can understand Darwin in a better context. I think that's what the brother was saying just now.
By the way, ChatGPT just said that Darwin was a fucking racist. By the way, I just looked up. I just said, in 2025, am I wrong to call him a racist based on the times? And it says no. He was a racist.
It's about the work that he put forward, though. You can't deny the work that he put forward.
No, we're not saying that
selection
and evolution is wrong. We're just saying that those statements that he made was racist.
Hold on. Hey, Clarke.
One mic. Somebody humble out and let somebody.
Nobody is saying throw away evolution and natural selection.
No,
because
you said throw away a racist. That's what you said the other day. You said if a person is racist, you got to throw him away completely.
I'm saying but he also said you can't treat everybody the same, right? So everything is a case by case basis. And that's why one thing that we don't understand, like a lot in these conversations, we don't know how to compartmentalize each component of the conversation, right? So those statements right there that they said was racist, but Darwin's overall work was not racist. Down, he might have had some bad ideas, and I think it's more due to just ignorance. Like, I don't think he knew as much as we did, and maybe over time he would have had different views, but that's not an excuse for, at the time, him making those statements or even writing those statements were very racist, and that's just that. You know what I mean? Like, we got to be able to compartmentalize. It's not either Darwin is a racist and we throw him away, or he's not a racist and we accept everything. Like, that's a false dichotomy, right? That shit was racist, but his overall work was groundbreaking, and actually you can use his work to fight against racism.
We need it.
All right. So my question is to whoever has the ChatGPT. I think it's Corey. Put in ChatGPT if Darwin if Darwin was around in the 21st, century, would he still be a racist based on his views, or would the influence at the time be different?
It'd be Hitler now.
Yeah, I can
with the shit that he
said. The reason why I'm asking is because of the environment at the time.
But they say he was even racist for his time, though. Like
of course, he was surrounded by racists.
No. I'm saying there were even. See, like one of the things when we had these conversations and we add in the for the time part, I get that
because
you have to stay right. You can't be anachronistic. But there were even
it's how you shape your ideals.
No, that's cool. But there were contemporaries that did the same thing as him that were calling him racist too.
Right.
And
we act like that.
That's what I'm saying. They were saying
that was abolitionists and shit who didn't believe none of that racist bullshit. So to act like they was just a person of their time, like human beings always knew that shit was wrong, though. That's what I'm trying to like. That's the part that's troubling to me with all of these things when we talk about history. I can always show you that there was always people that opposed racism in the bullshit. So you just can't be you agree to that bullshit, especially people as smart as Darwin. You dig what I'm saying? Now, any white boy in Kentucky, I could say, yeah, they ain't got the sense God gave. You feel me? But when you're talking about people at the highest level, going to universities and shit, that shit is deliberate, y'all. That shit is deliberate. That's the point.
Mel, it says, I put your question in there. It says, if Charles Darwin were alive in the 21st century and held the same beliefs he expressed, even though being scientific, he would absolutely be considered a racist. Probably more than that time. He ranked human groups by civilization.
I got a different answer.
Okay, it says he ranked human groups by civilization.
I got a different answer in my chat to be too, and I'm like,
what did you get, Sosa?
What did you? What was
I got a different. I'm getting into the breakdown. I'm getting into the breakdown of quote. Go ahead, do yours, man. I'll get into the breakdown of
what was your exact question, word for word?
Yeah, I said if Darwin was in the 21st. Yeah, I said if Darwin was in the 21st century, would his views still be racist?
Okay, if Darwin was in the 21st century, would his views still be racist? Now remember, this is also going off all the other questions I've asked it, so our answers ain't gonna be the same. If Darwin was in the 20th century, would his views still be racist? Because they've already called him a racist.
Mel is essentially asking if ChatGPT believes his viewpoint would have evolved in time. I think that's what Mel's getting at.
No, ChatGPT, it still says yes. It says if Darwin held the same
view. Says something completely different.
Yeah, what does yours say?
All right, so it says the short answer is probably not in that way, but it's going to give a breakdown. So one, Darwin at his time. Charles Darwin lived in a Victorian scientific culture steeped in Eurocentrism and racial hierarchy. Many European scientists assumed Caucasians were the pinnacle of civilization and that Africans, indigenous peoples, and others were closer to primitive humanity. Darwin's writings sometimes reflected these biases. For example, in The Descent of Man, he describes civilized races as having advanced beyond savage races, but compared to many of his peers, Darwin was actually less overtly racist. He opposed slavery, supported abolition, and emphasized the unity of all humans as one species, contrary to some contemporaries who argued different races were separate species. And then add the 21st century context. If he lived now, they listed three things that would shape his thinking differently. One is modern genetics, and we know that human genetic diversity is extremely small. All humans share 99.9% of DNA. Race is a social construct, not a biological one. Global awareness. Modern scientists operate in a multicultural global context where overt racial hierarchies are socially and academically discredited. And then three, scientific accountability. Today, racist interpretations of biology are widely challenged, and institutions emphasize ethic, responsibility, and science. and then I'll start with the likely shifts in Darwin's views. Um, he would still believe in human evolution. That part would remain unchanged. He almost certainly would not frame Africans or indigenous peoples as less evolved because modern anthropology, archaeology, and genetics disprove that. His anti slavery stance suggests that he might align with modern anti racist movements, though, like anyone, he would still be a product of his time. And then actually, there's one more. Where he might still struggle, Darwin was deeply influenced by Victorian progressivism, the idea that societies advance to stages. Even today, some scientists unconsciously apply evolutionary language like advanced versus primitive to cultures. And he might still, at least initially, wrestle with shedding that framework before fully adopting 21st century anti racist language. And then they give the conclusion.
In the beginning of that, it said that he would be less racist.
Correct.
So that would mean he would be racist.
Because of the time, yeah.
Because of the time.
No.
Yes.
Racist
He would
for the
still be.
understanding,
He would
but
still
he'd
be racist. But the influence of this Victorian, Europe, made a huge influence. He wouldn't be overtly racist. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, and that's what we're saying.
Just say it, because they don't the context.
No. Because the thing is, I don't want to get into the degrees of racist. It's just when I've heard this conversation come up before, and people call Darwin racist, and the people would say that he wasn't racist, but it's almost like
we can all agree that in 2025, what he's saying would be problematic and racist.
Okay.
Like, so we could just move. Yeah, so we don't got to keep. Yeah. So, right. So I just took the first part. I want the other part too. So what I do, I just drop the chat. I just drop the shit and just quote in the chat GPT. And I'd be like, just explain like I'm a fifth grader. Right. So when it says in the future, right, the more civilized human groups, right? This is in Darwin view, like Europeans in his view, right? So that's definitely racist in these times. So they're giving it from his viewpoint, right? So it said it would probably take over or wipe out the less powerful or savage groups, right? Like some indigenous peoples, which he wrongly thought were less advanced, right? The same conversation we have today when we arguing with Uncle people. What is a civilization, right? And some people say, well, calling these people civilized as a Eurocentric point of view, right? By not classifying others. So there's a even debate between what is a civilization and right. So that whole shit going on. But to say that now would be racist, right? So all that's going to feed into telling you that in 2025, this shit he's saying was racist. I was trying to find the other quote from Haskell so I can put that one in. But he also was saying in that quote, he believed that when he said the anthropomorphic ape, he thought that apes and chimps were going to go extinct. That's what he's saying. The apes and chimps will also go extinct.
The Negro,
right?
And
he wasn't saying, and in that quote, he's not saying that this should happen. He's looking at what's happening and like just a grim view on the direction in which he's seeing society going, right? And people at that time, hold on. And people at that time, hold on. The last piece that you can get in. And people at that time felt that grim outlook was problematic for me. Like, yo, how just a little harsh, such a grim view. But that's what he was seeing in society, the aim for society at that time. Go ahead, Alex.
But can you class it as grim if he felt that, it would be beneficial or it would be progressive? Can't be grim if you think it's gonna, if it's gonna progress humanity. That's not grim.
I need the other part of the quote. I'm trying to find the other part of the quote. Dumping in at a time.
You're fighting.
I dump it in piece by piece.
Haskell cooking.
Yeah. Hey, Mel,
because we got to dump it in piece by piece and go like, you know what I'm saying? Go piece by piece instead of like, we going back and forth. We kind of get lost. We can all agree he's racist.
Hey Mel, let me ask you a question. That question that you asked ChatGPT, was that the first time you asked it about today? Was that the first time you asked it about Darwin, or do you have questions preceding that? Because I just learned something about ChatGPT that's crazy.
That was a new chat. I had asked in a prior chat what his human evolution views were.
Because
it broke it down by.
Definitely want to do a new chat too, Brass, because it's going to
What does
tie
that
in
say
all the
about the
things you're
no,
talking
because
about.
consistency of
here's why. Yeah,
ChatGPT?
that's what I was saying. It says, I said, would your answer reflect some of our conversation that we're already having? Because someone else asked a question and they didn't get what you're giving me. And it says, yes, my answers are also influenced by our earlier conversation. Because you and I have already been building a deep conversation about Darwin, race, Afrocentrism, and scientific racism, my responses are to reflect what we've already spoken on. Acknowledge your past questions. Avoid repeating basic things you've clearly moved past. So, for example, with you, I'll say, yes, Darwin ranked races and predicted extermination. We've talked about that being racist by modern standards. For a first timer, I'll walk more slowly through the context, the quotes, the period, and the time, and explain why his views were shaped by the 19th century. So, yes, you're getting a layered, personalized conversation. Someone else asking for the first time would get a starter level answer because they haven't unpacked all this history that we've discussed over the past few days. So it's not a hallucination. It's just it's cutting out. Because I was wondering why I've never seen Victorian in any of this. When you kept saying Victorian, I never saw the word Victorian, and I'm like, why are you getting that, and I'm not?
And I think also what it's doing too, like on your approach, like your stances can be have a hard line stance.
Mm-hmm.
It's catering how it tells you based on your stance too. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, so I think so. Even your more liberal point of view,
exactly. Good
right?
point.
Shapes the type of responses.
Let me give you
because it's,
so
you know
let
what
me
I
give
mean.
you.
Go ahead.
Right. Let me give you guys a tip.
Y'all cut him off, and I
aren't.
kind of want to hear what he was saying.
Why do we got to use AI for everything, bro? God dang.
We just do it like we just doing it for fun, like Freddie.
Because I don't feel like going and reading The Descent of Man from 1871 right now at 11 o'clock in the morning.
But you can,
maybe
like I said,
you can
use it and just critique it and comb through it and come to some resolve.
As long as we don't accept these answers as mantra, you know, like you get the answer and then you discern from there. You know what I'm saying? But it has to be discerning at some point.
And I think too, like the more we do it, the more I'm learning about AI and how to go about. You know what I mean? Like filter it out. You know what I mean? Like I'm learning more and more about it.
You can't convince it to give a certain rhetoric based off the questions that you ask and the rebuttals that you give it. That's why I'm a little.
But I'll say this: when you use the word rhetoric, it's giving facts. And if ChatGPT already knows, I look at Francis Cress Wilson and John Henry Clarke as racist.
Right.
That's why the first answer, Fetty, it said he's racist, but not like them. Like it automatically was separating Darwin from them because it said not that even the period of the time or this, that, and the other. It's just that his works proved out over time. So even if it was racist, it's basically saying Francis Cress Wilson was racist when she said it, and the shit hasn't changed based on any kind of test or theory or nothing. It's still racist. So it's kind of separating Darwin in that way. But here's the scary part of what Haskell's cooking. I said, did he think that the wiping out of the savage race was beneficial or grim? It says that Charles Darwin did suggest that the extinction of the so-called savage races was natural and a likely outcome of evolution. And even the scientists at the time were wondering why he was so cold and just comfortable with implying that it was part of human progress and not a tragedy. That's something. That's something. That's not like a look to just be like, wipe them out, move forward, we'll be better. Like, I don't know. That's it says he didn't say this is good and we should do it. But the key is he didn't say this is wrong and we should try to figure out how to stop it. He just knew it was inevitable, natural, part of evolution's march forward. The key is that if it was Europeans that were going to be wiped out, would he still call it the natural improvement of mankind? Yeah.
If it's an improvement, that's not grim.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
nigga might be,
And
he might be
also,
he might be diabolical.
I think we requiring him to bring his ideology or his emotion into the date with the data.
The
so
scientific method, right.
Yeah, I think he was just saying like maybe, and his outcome, like his conclusion was probably wrong, right? But he's saying like, yo, this is just what it is, bro. Like, what you why do I need to have feelings about it, bro? Like, is it he thinking like this is the data and this is inevitable. Like what he's saying is this is an inevitability, not that, oh, this is what he dreams of happening or whatever, you know. I'm not saying like, oh, it's some right in anything what he's saying, but at the same time, I can recognize that he reading the data and not having no emotion behind it. At least he's not revealing his emotion. Now he
right there, though,
his
Corey.
wife
Hey, Corey,
break down in tears about it, but he didn't
Can
do
I ask
that.
a question?
Stay right. No.
Exactly.
Hold on, Corey. Stay right there, though.
That's a fact.
Stay right there. Stay right there. It says Darwin wasn't just a scientist; he was a human being. I asked the same question you said. I said, why would a scientist have to be have feelings on something scientific? It says Darwin wasn't just a scientist; he was a human being. And the key is he made moral judgments elsewhere in his writings by calling slavery sickening and disgusting. So he did have feelings only when he chose to. But when it came to indigenous and African people being wiped out, the scientists were upset because he wrote with a cold detachment, like it was just an evolutionary update. So if he could feel his disgust at slavery, why not feel anything about an entire culture being erased? That silence is meaningful. Writing about extermination with no moral concern is quiet approval. Exterminate and replace are not neutral words. If somebody said today, eventually the rich will wipe out the poor is just how things go, you would immediately say, wait, are you okay with that? The lack of his moral concern matters. Science is not free from values and never has been. There's no such thing as just being scientific. It doesn't protect you when your words help shape systems of power. So he had feelings about slavery. He had feelings about animals suffering. So yeah, we can expect him to have feelings about human extinction too. And the fact that he didn't speaks volumes and may be evidence of a deeper sign of racism.
I think that I don't. But now I don't really like those type of questions for ChatGPT.
I like your answer though, because that's something that I wouldn't have caught. I would think of science as something that's cold. I would never have realized that he called slavery disgusting, but the extermination of fucking us being close to apes as just cold and detached. I'd have a problem with that.
Hey, but
So I
Brad,
like
because he's working. Let me say this though. He's working from the theory of natural selection, right? So his concept is that, the concept of natural selection is that stronger and better adapted species survive while others die out, right? That's natural selection. So he's saying like, and I think we're seeing that the indigenous people are being wiped out. I mean, like this prediction is happening.
But if you call slavery disgusting, you can take a second. He's like, I like what ChatGPT said on that he's a scientist, but he's a human too.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I get that.
That
I'm
ain't
saying,
supposed to
but
bother
I'm
him?
talking about in terms of his viewpoint, though. What he predicted in terms of natural selection is happening.
He didn't know that at the time. It was just a prediction.
That's what scientists do, to make predictions. That's how we know
Right.
shit is valid.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing. If it was information
Everybody
that
makes predictions.
indicated anything otherwise, it seems as if a lot of these people would have moved on with a different hypothesis. If a person is racist, that means that if they find data that can be replicated and they stand on that, trying to prove a racist rhetoric. But like Darwin and others, they just had integrity when applying the scientific method, and they just follow what the data said. Even
But
though it
Fetty,
come off as racist, two things can be true.
yeah, Fetty.
Yeah.
But here's
If
the thing:
I
we're
tell
not
you,
debating whether he's racist. That's not. We're not. We've established that he was a
Brad,
racist.
the scientific method. I heard Richard Hyatt talk about it. He says in the scientific
I know,
method,
you hate
racism,
Richard.
the way we look at it, if a person applies a scientific method, takes emotions out of it, and is willing to change their stance when other people look at it and improve it, then that's just what it is. So it's like that's
Then
like the
watch these
crossroad that
slavery.
we're
Then
dealing
watch
with.
these
That
slavery was
even though
discussion though.
you may deem Charles Darwin a racist, he has brought so much forward to the better understanding of evolution. Is like is that's just what it is.
But we're talking about him at the time. We're not talking about 2025.
I know,
They were
no, I'm
calling
saying
him
at the
racist in
time
his own time.
he went through a scientific method, and he didn't have this racist
I
emotions
don't
of
know if
bringing
they
it
called him a
into
racist at his own
the
time.
scientific method and wanting to replicate data that he saw. That's all I was saying.
I don't think they called him a racist at his own time. They was going against her. Like they put his face a gorilla, like his face on a gorilla body. Like they was banging.
I don't
on
mean the time. I don't mean the consensus. I mean like they're just saying the scientists were saying like we're saying that it's justified by scientific theory, but I'll get quotes and get sources. Scientists at the time were disturbed by him being so cold about the extermination of a fucking race.
I mean, but that's
like
just
they were saying that that was disturbing.
but hold your nuts, because basically he was saying
God,
because basically he was saying like what's happened. He was saying like, listen, you can take how you want to take it, yo. The way that humans progressing, bro. We're going to wipe out indigenous tribe, bro. We're going to this technology, this advancement, what we consider civilization means the extermination of indigenous peoples, bro. That's
Yeah, and what he's saying, basically what he was saying too is if we keep going down this road, the road that we on right now, this is what's going to end up happening. Now, whether he liked it or he was pleasured by it, like that don't have anything to do with it to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he just saying, yo, look, this the road we on. And if you take these binoculars and you look down there, this is what's at the end of the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? That's
so when he said so fuck all that. When he
Mhm.
said that Negroes and Australians was closer to apes,
that was racist.
That's racist. So I don't.
But I can compartmentalize that though, Chef. I can compartmentalize
I think he was talking
the fact
about
that was racist. But the fact that he's saying
that's
that
what it sounded like to me when I'm
the
looking
way
up.
we going, y'all gonna end up wiping out all the indigenous people.
Well, y'all can say right. Y'all can argue morality about how he felt about them wiping people out. I'm not talking about that, but clearly on the fact that he will place Negroes and Australians in a hierarchy closer to apes and white people at it. That is racist, and I don't know why y'all running past that to argue everything else.
Yeah, I wouldn't run
the
past
only
that.
reason,
I wouldn't run
the only
past
reason
that.
they
That's a
didn't
good
call
point.
him racist at the time is because the word didn't exist. They didn't. It wasn't the term racist wasn't even. It says there was definite pushback, but he was not widely or explicitly called a racist. But some of his ideas about race, colonialism, and civilization were challenged by thinkers at the time. But the term racist didn't exist in its modern form during his life. He died in 1882. Scientific racism was mainstream in 19th century, not a fringe belief. In that but many scholars, including John Stuart Mill, Bishop Samuel Wilberforce, shouts to you. He started Wilberforce in Ohio, and Frederick Douglass criticized the difference between the white man and the black man is simply one of condition, not of constitution. John Stuart Mill, he was a supporter of universal human equality. He warned that calling other races savage or barbarous was a tool to justify domination, and he didn't like the kind of framing that Darwin used. And Bishop Samuel Wilberforce, he was a critic of his theory of evolution on religious grounds, so it was something different. But they definitely pushed back on his ideas. But
Yeah, for different reasons. Yeah, like I said, for different
Yeah.
reasons. Some for being too grim, like, oh, bro, it's too grim. But like, you could be like, nigga, fuck that. Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Suck it
Yeah,
up. You
hold
know
your
what I mean?
nuts.
Like, motherfucker, yeah, suck it up, buttercup. Like for sisters, I would be saying this shit. Like, suck
These
it up, buttercup.
these conversations are like they're interesting.
Hey, Brad.
Like, because I pay attention to the defenses niggas give. Shit's funny. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Now it's like,
GQ.
you meet me in the lake area real quick.
Yeah. Who the fuck? I'm cleaning out my refrigerator in my basement. All the fucking food from upstairs is down here. Y'all go ahead. I gotta go to another room. Unless y'all done.
We just getting started. We're gonna let
Everybody's
High
on
School
mute.
run
That
that.
mute shit be fucking everything up sometimes. Y'all,
We
somebody
gonna
gotta say something.
We're gonna let High School run this. High School, cook these niggas. Oh shit, High School scared. High School scared. I don't know.
Yeah, but here's my point though, and I'm glad we did this though, Chef. Right now, in this whole conversation about Darwin, see how we flushed all that out? We went back to the times. We went and looked at the language, how people spoke. You know what I'm saying?
You can't run from nothing. We do it
But what I'm saying, but when we had a conversation about the scissors, I ain't trying to hear all that. Nope. People knew better. You know what I'm saying? It's like you gotta flush all that out, bro. Right? And even people like, yo, well, we give them, even though shit was racist, we do give them some grace because of the times. You know what I mean? Like you gotta force some grace because of the time. Some people just gonna be where they at, you know, in those times.
Yeah.
Shit.
No, I'm with you, but you know what I mean. You got to be able to call it as what it is, and then whatever you want to get out of that, or however you want to salvage him, you can figure out ways you can salvage him. You dig what I'm saying? So when it comes to
I don't like it.
I can't figure out ways to salvage them.
I don't like it because now we making a false equivocation here. Like, okay, Darwin said some wild shit, right? Like, but it's about the intention, right? Now, Francis Quest Wilson.
I'm not comparing them, Corey. I'm not comparing their work.
Okay, all right.
No, I'm just saying like I'm just saying like in order to determine how we're going to deal with her, we walk through the context and make sure, you know what I mean?
Right.
We say, okay, you know what I mean? Everything is considered. You feel me? Like you can't just, you know, otherwise we'd be like, hey, that nigga straight racist, man, get rid of him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, yeah,
we be throwing everybody in the trash.
Yeah.
Let's look at. Hold on. Let's look at a musician or something, right? All right. They think of R. Kelly. You can admit that R. Kelly is a disgusting human being, but we can't act like he's not a great musician. Also, you dig what I'm saying? Like to deny his artistry or to deny what a scientist brought to the field because they were racist. I think that's when we do something wrong. But so Darwin did bring something useful to humanity that we can't do. We can't throw that away. You know what I mean? Just because we don't like Darwin. But what I'm saying is Frances Cress Welsing. What the fuck did she bring when we gotta overlook her racism? See, you can't
and that's dangerous
selection. Right. We can't throw away natural selection. We can't throw away evolution. You dig what I'm saying? That shit is pertinent to our understanding of biology on this fucking planet. But
so you're saying if she would have invented Microsoft, that we could let her slide on.
You couldn't throw away
a little bit. You probably let her slide.
No,
yeah.
that's not what
not
that's
on
what
the
he's
racism,
saying. That's
but
not
we
what
can still veer her about.
I gotta separate myself from that.
No, I wasn't saying this.
Chef.
Is what
Oh
he's
man,
saying.
Chef.
I wasn't saying.
And then we got to be careful with it because this is why I always bring up the Dr. York example, because you got to be careful with that. You know, yeah, Dr. York was the biggest rapist in the world, but like, how many countless niggas did he get off drugs, bro? You know what I'm saying? So we really got to be careful with the, you know what I'm saying? Well, we gonna let this go, but then we gonna, you know, it's a slippery slope there.
Corey, Hubble said some racist statements. We found statements where Hubble then said some crazy shit. So does that mean
we're gonna have to let them go?
No. What I'm saying is fine, but I'm saying you don't throw away his calculations and stuff. You dig what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying we can't do that across the board, though, Chef.
So we don't throw away natural selection and evolution just because you can't throw it away.
I agree with that.
You don't have a choice.
Didn't bring nothing with you can't. We can dismiss her.
But Chef, with evolution and natural selection, let's not act like we got a choice to throw this shit away. The shit gonna happen whether we fucking like it or not. It ain't got nothing to
understand
it informs everything.
Yeah, I get what I get gist of what you're saying. I'm
you
just saying,
throw all racists away.
Keep the telescope, throw Hubble away. We can keep his telescope and throw Hubble away. Frances Cress Welson's issue is she ain't discover evolution. She didn't create a telescope. She just said some wild shit. So it's easy to say, yeah, she was speaking to resistance. That's it. She was
what Hubble did was so great. We might have to overlook his racism altogether. Like that's the level that like it's different levels to this shit. It's different levels.
Give me that.
Take that nigga telescope.
Give me that. Well, give me that.
Give me that telescope.
Wait. Y'all trying to say that there's nothing that's redeemable or excellent about Francis that can be redeemed her specifically, Chef? Like you saying there's nothing that you can hold her up in excellence about?
Because
I don't know that much about her.
There it is. Chef said it.
I'm saying he's saying that. I've learned way too much.
And let Chef explain.
No, you trying to explain the fucked up side of the argument. Give him a break. He don't know.
But that's what he wants to know. He wants to know the other side. He wants to know Chef's point of view. He wants to know.
You need
he
Chef
wants to know Chef's perspective.
No, he didn't say Chef.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
go
I
ahead,
said Chef. Yeah,
specifically Chef. Watch how this goes. Go ahead, Chef. Good job, Sosa. Go ahead.
I don't know nothing about.
I agree with Chef, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just
yet.
Hold on, let her get it out, Lonnie. Let her get it out.
You would have to show me something that she brought to Black people and humanity as a whole, where I have to overlook her racism. Now, show me something redeemable about what, you know what I mean, and we can have a conversation. I'm ready. Majasi, what did she do?
So, like the other day when we was talking about her and we elevated that she was more than likely in the collection of different scholars at that time who was advancing the language around what we understand with the structure of white supremacy. You don't feel like that was a powerful piece that elevates the excellence of her advancing our language of understanding the political reality of how whiteness shows up across the globe?
No.
Okay.
See? No. It's very easy. It's very clear.
Okay, we can disagree.
She did way more harm
in the complete
with how she explained white supremacy. See, I only can understand her resistance.
She was wrong.
She did Mujasi. What she did was more harmful than white supremacy. What she did.
No, you did.
Because
no.
Here's why. This is my opinion.
Does anybody else agree with that?
I know. I can't flesh it out yet. Of course, I say some shit like that. Nobody's going to agree.
I can't use
just
nothing.
Let me flesh my thought out. So we have a Black doctor, Mujasi. We have a Black female doctor. We can't hear you, Elijah. Go ahead, Logic. I'll see to you, but
go ahead, Logic.
No, he's talking right now. He's just cut out. Okay, and then when I start, he's gonna come back into reception. But he is my main issue, Mujasi, with her, and it seems like a cold stance, but I have to take this stance after we talked about it all these days. She was a clinical psychiatrist that was teaching unscientific people biology. And on top of that, what?
When he's in the Matrix, he can't even hear you. You know what I mean? Like,
hold on.
When you're in the Matrix, you're just in the hell. You can't hear somebody saying you're in the Matrix.
Yeah, I just muted him.
He's caught up.
So on top of that,
who's in the Matrix?
That's when your reception. When your
reception's cutting out. You don't notice
who's in the Matrix.
It's Logic. It's Logic.
Okay.
Yeah, I just put him on mute. So
the pseudo killer language and shit. You're the Matrix, bro.
The danger. I had to change that to something else. Then the danger is that no, the danger is even if she was creating a language of white supremacy, she was making an excuse for white supremacy. This is a black doctor telling black people that it ain't about power, it ain't about control, it ain't about colonialism. They just got they just got this thing that makes them do that. No,
she said all of that.
Sosa, stop cutting me off, bro. I know you trying to get your point in. You can say all of that as soon as I'm done. And now I'll be more clear. She said all of that, and they had a biological reason for why they were doing what they do. Just to have full clarity. So if you got a black doctor talking to basically everyone but black people, this is a person that knows scientific method, Mujasi, and she never actually put that shit towards any kind of peer review, no kind of tests, no kind of nothing. She just presented the shit as science to people that wouldn't know the fucking difference. All they see is the MD in psychiatry. They don't know that she's not a psychologist. They don't know that she's not a biologist. They don't know that she's not a geneticist to even be able to have these conversations. So this was actually a black woman making an excuse for white supremacy. That's how I see it. And it was accepted more from them that, oh, wait, so there's a reason other than power? She said power and she said this, but then also there's this gene that makes them they have this fear of genetic annihilation. Makes sense. And now you got motherfuckers that's still saying that shit. Now, shit ain't real. Shit don't make no sense at all. And she got good common sense, Mujasi, regardless of her time. She graduated from Howard University with an MD in psychiatry. You know what makes it even worse, Mujasi? Then you got Leonard Jeffries and Neely Fuller pushing this shit on her. They didn't put that shit out. She did. She wrote the ISIS papers. So yes, I don't think there's a redeemable thing in Frances Cress Wilson. No, I don't.
I think my follow-up question is looking at the process of how we just had this conversation about Charles Darwin, and I like where Sosa was going with it for a second. Did we just humanize Charles Darwin, even in the seed of his whiteness that was reflected in his writing, but we won't give the same grace and the same foundational process to Frances Cress Wilson?
No, we humanized evolution and natural selection, not Charles Darwin. We're the ones that's still saying he's racist. We're the ones that's still saying he's racist. If Frances Cress Wilson did all of that shit about the recessive genes and and we found out that was actually some true shit, then we would have kept what she said and this, that, and the other, and still called her a racist. So that I have no issue saying we can't get around what he discovered. We're not humanizing what it is. No, we're not here. I'm not.
All right, start right there. What he was saying is that when we talked about Darwin and the race rhetoric, we look into the speech. We said, well, he's using the language of the day. He's saying savage and savage men uncivilized, and this meant indigenous people. We did give grace, even though we did say the shit was racist.
I didn't. I still said him calling. No, I didn't. I said him creating a racial ladder and putting us next to apes
we
under
got to get
Europeans. That's that. I didn't say
need
that.
the other input there because you're representing the whole, and the other people that may disagree with how you feel.
Yeah, I didn't. If other people did that, that's fine. Because you know what, Mujasi, in the middle of that conversation, you know what I realized? I was like, are we fucking defending a white man and throwing the black people under the bus? I immediately said that. And that's when I had to separate and say no. And that's why I was agreeing with Haskell. And I was trying to see what other scholars were saying about him at the time. Other people at the time were saying the stuff he was giving some pushback, not the consensus, but there were people saying that.
And not on the same basis.
Why do you keep giving clarity to my statements?
Because clarity is important. You like
no, but I don't see you
even
doing
when
that
you
with everybody
even
else.
when you make the statement, because you're brash, you're doing a lot of talking. So even when you do the genetic stuff like that, like you kind of misconstruing that part of it.
What did she say about genes? Let's clear this up. What did she say about genes? What did she say about genes?
I'm trying to explain it to you.
Okay.
The genetic argument was skin. It was about the fact that what is being produced is white skin.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
So she never. So that's all she said about the genetic argument. That's all she said.
The innate driver that we talked about, that inbornness, is all a result of what's being produced, that white skin. And because since you have that white skin, here's what comes with that. That's her base. That's the crux of her genetic argument.
So what is she saying different than what I said?
When you were saying, you were saying like,
so tell me what I'm
no,
saying.
because when you were framing it, you were making it. You keep saying like she's saying like well, she's making this genetic argument like the white people are like white people are superior or inferior, right? Because of genetics. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying the way you framing it, it doesn't come across like she's just talking about skin, the skin color. So it comes across differently.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this: white skin is a genetic deficiency. Whiteness is a genetic recessive trait, and therefore white people are genetic mutants of black people. She believed that because white people have less melanin, they are genetically weaker than non-white people, especially black people, causing a fear of genetic annihilation. I don't know if what I've been saying don't match that, but that's what I'm saying.
Are those things scientifically true? The pale skin being hold on. Pale skin is recessive, right?
No, I know that part, but don't kill me with specifics. I know that is recessive. That's true. But
I just want to walk through it. I just want to walk through it piece by piece. So the pale skin part
they like to run through it. They like I'll be like,
they be going crazy.
I like to chop it down, but they want to go like a 15 minutes. Like, let's go
That's all I'm saying.
Paragraph. But every discussion should go like that. Like every discussion, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes people will say things that's incorrect, but you can't correct them.
I ain't gonna lie though.
You mean like the? No, I agree. No, I agree. Like the Bible being compared to Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, you see, I got on there. You see, I got on there arguing, right?
I'm just trying to figure out why I gotta be so fucking specific. But then a nigga would say, I saw you fight back. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I do also remember this is entertainment. And some of these people that's watching these shows, let me speak to the chat, y'all gotta do some of the fucking work yourself too. Like we're not here I can't flesh out the full everything all the time like that. I don't even like to do content like that. But if you want clarity, that's fine. But sometimes
that's what I'm looking for.
Just slow down. Yeah, let's just slow
I'm just
down.
Looking because you know what it is, Sosa? Because I've been guilty of this in the past, having these conversations. Like when I hear rationalizations being made for Darwin, it would trigger me. And I'd be like, well, why are you asking on it? You know, but I guess being in the conversations more, I've just learned to just go through it, you know, like you said, just piece by piece with no emotion whatsoever, like a robot damn near.
Okay, so for genes, so listen, what Welsing was right about, or at least partially grounded in real genetics. Melanin is determined by genetics. True. Skin color is controlled by genes and darker skin results. Melanin traits like skin, eye, and hair color are often genetically dominant. White skin comes from genetic mutations. That's true. What Wilson got wrong was calling whiteness a genetic deficiency. Lighter skin does come from mutations, but it is not a defect or a disease. There's no scientific basis for saying white people are genetically weak or less human. Claiming whites fear black people because of genetic annihilation. There is zero genetic or psychological evidence that racism comes from recessive gene fear. Ascribing moral, spiritual superiority to melanin. Those are all wrong. So I hope that
we agree on
just
that.
know that that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I understand the genetics of it.
So I think the piece that I'm trying to elevate is that, I don't know if you noticed, but Dr. Welsing advanced more to the conversation of our predicament and the fight against white supremacy more than just that theory, right? She expanded and made numerous conversations and arguments around the political reality, economic reality, medical reality, social reality of how folks run up against racial confrontation and white supremacy. There's more to her work than just that theory. So that's what I'm saying. Like, do we really completely cancel her out because that one part of her theory doesn't have any scientific or empirical foundation?
Yes.
Okay.
And for clarity,
so you
like,
saying brother
not
she
that.
brought something to the table, right? She
They're not really
brought more to the table than
the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam then made social commentary on the how racism and how white supremacy affect us socioeconomically and all of that. So she's not groundbreaking in none of that, right? So right. So why would we need her? You feel me? Anybody knows that white supremacy affected black people negatively. So she brought nothing new to the table.
And you got to do the pros and cons.
Right.
Yeah, but she also threw up black
Has
white.
to be new. But Chef, remember the other day we talked about, like, she was a part of a collection. We had mentioned an elevator like Michael Bradley, which I talked about earlier today. Dr. Wabongo, I can't remember the name of his literature that he wrote. We talked about Mama Ani, Marima Ani and her Yorugo piece. And apart in that same time frame, there was a lot of literature coming out that was expanding and breaking down some of the specificity of how white supremacy shows up on a global level and infect Africans and African descendants across, different various nations and countries. And she was a part of that think tank to advance the language and advance the manifestation of what it looks like. Even though it wasn't pivotal and it wasn't brand new, she didn't introduce some spanking brand new to the conversation. I'm hard pressed to sit up here and say we have to just completely cancel and just dismiss anything that she's brought to the table just because it wasn't something that she can patent.
But what did she do to other black intellectuals at the time, though, Mujasi? When other doctors, when other people was trying to do it the right way, when other black people during this time where it was so difficult to get a doctorate in the hoses, I'm aware of the time in the 60s and 70s, I get it. But this is also, she was laughed at and mocked. What do you think that harm had to do with other intellectuals offering ideas at that time? When you're a black person,
complicated.
No, yeah, but then when you see, I guess because I see it a little different of, even if she's saying what she's saying, or even if she's this fake empowerment thing to me is very is I don't even know if you could calculate the harm of giving somebody fake empowerment. And this kind of goes to what Sosa was asking yesterday. Is it cool to, I'm not going to be literal, but is it cool to fight racism technically with racism? Fake empowerment is really dangerous, bro. When it's not based on anything. Look at us now in 2025, us realizing that the shit, like some of this isn't correct. And then on top of that, Mujasi, what I mean by the other scholars, because now when you put a microscope on even somebody like a John Henry Clarke, who people respect, because everybody says that she's a pseudo, and it is what it is. We don't promote her. John Henry Clarke was promoting her. John Henry Clarke wrote the foreword to Iceman Inheritance, saying some other pseudo racist stuff all over that. At some point, when we get good common sense, at what point do we just start saying what they were saying about these Afrocentric scholars might have been correct? That they just spooky and just full of shit.
Grifters.
Like I don't really be wanting to believe Corey when he be like snake oil salesman. Them niggas were snake oil salesmen.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me the amount of grace that y'all will extend to Darwin.
It's some pros and cons for me. It's a
man of his time. He was a man of his time. Other people, influence him, and the Victorian this, and just endless cap.
Yeah,
no, I'm saying collectively, not just you,
that
Brad.
wasn't the collective. That wasn't
collective because I
no, just a comment.
No,
he's saying that it was a part
yeah.
of the
Well, there's a contingency of people.
Y'all read. They just read ChatGPT. That was the only discussion. Like they just read. And we did the same thing. We actually been discussing.
Yeah, let him get it out
for 4 days.
Yeah, let it get it out because it's
supposed
to.
Yeah, but make no mistake. The Mel Brass and Sosa were offering extenuating circumstances and mitigating arguments for why Darwin wrote like that.
No, I didn't.
But
no, he should have said.
I did.
No,
he said
I did.
Brass agreed.
I didn't. No, I didn't agree.
So Brass, you agreed with me then?
Yes.
Okay,
we said you was cooking. We said you was cooking.
Okay, I got the names mixed up. So yeah, Brass, So
I agree with you.
It was Sosa. All right, so yeah, it was just Sosa and Mel.
We still agree with evolution.
I agree.
Also said he was racist too.
I believe,
but it's a pros and cons
thing. Throw him and get him out of here. But I believe keep evolution. Right. We don't got no choice.
Yeah, I think it's a pros and cons thing with me though, Haskell and my man is that Mujasi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the pros, right, and the cons is to me like, okay, with Darwin, like, and not even that I would like to even do this comparison because it's kind of a little disrespectful a little bit in a way, right? But when with Darwin and his rhetoric, right, and the racist things, and we all agree that those things he said was racist, right? But how much do you how much damage did that cause compared to how much damage does Francis Cress Welsing? Because like I don't have to go back. We really don't have to do much cleanup behind Darwin. We could just be like, yo,
you think so?
That was some wild ass shit, right? And
are you sure about that?
Clearly, yeah, because let me explain. Because we can clearly look and say that was some wild ass shit Darwin said. Like, I mean, seemed like a lot of his opinion in there. And as far as the civilization thing goes, I could argue that wasn't racist to me. But the other shit though, right? That was clearly the ape shit and all of the rest of the chimp. That was clearly racist, right? But like science is a self-correcting mechanism, and like he was within his field, and they corrected that, right? Without a lot of damage behind it. Now, Francis Cress Welsing, Welsing and somebody. Let me finish my point right here. Francis Cress Welsing. The pros and cons there is like, okay, somebody can get some empowerment behind her, right? But how much cleanup do you have to do? How many years? Because we here in 2025, still trying to clean that mess up. Now Darwin shit them been clean. Like nobody's entertaining whether who was.
We want to argue that, Corey. We want to debate
you
that
know
right
what I mean?
there. We want to challenge you on that right there.
Yeah, I want to challenge you on that
well,
too.
I want to challenge you on that statement.
Because here we is in 2025. That's a big mess.
Yeah, we're going to challenge you on that.
So real quick, so I want to get an appraisal as to what would constitute something being dangerous, right? So is it people being potentially radicalized by your erroneous theories and writings, and
that's
possibly
exactly the danger.
All right,
I think it's even worse than that. It's really worse than that.
Let them get it out because we're arguing against. We're arguing why the danger of Darwin.
Now that we've established the standard for what qualifies as to, something being cleaned up or being dangerous, we can point to groups and people who use Darwin's statements and ideology to support
erroneously,
right? In the case
but
of
they're not using Francis Cress
hold
Welsing's
on. We already agreed.
I hate the apples and oranges argument.
Yeah. Hold on. We agreed to a standard, and that standard was the erroneous writing. So we both agree that what Cress Welsing wrote was erroneous in regards to the deficiency of the skin and the mutation and them being morally morally inferior due to that, lack of melanin, blah, blah, blah. And we also agree that Darwin was similarly erroneous with his stuff.
No. People used him erroneously.
Hold on. Let's walk through it, Corey. Let's slow walk.
Because what we're talking, we might be having two different conversations. Go ahead.
No,
that's why I'm trying to slow walk it. So earlier, we agreed that the standard as to danger or something need to be cleaned up would be measured by how human beings were radicalized by these respective authors' erroneous writings or ideas. You want to amend that, or is that still going to be
no, because the author, so it's one thing if the author writes something like Darwin's Natural Selection, and then you get a group of wild motherfuckers that take that and then run off with it in some wild direction. And then it's another thing when you get Francis Cress Welsing's writing, and then you get people quoting that exact verbatim directly and not running off wild, but the actual work is wild, not them erroneously misinterpreting her work. Is wild. See, that's what I'm saying.
Hold on, but we agreed that Darwin said we agreed that Darwin said statements that was
but that
racist.
Wasn't his work.
Hold on.
That wasn't his
no,
work.
But his, you gotta understand, like there was no scientific journal when Darwin wrote. So
hold
on.
We can still determine what was his work, though.
Yeah. Now, but the residuals of that work, right, replacing blacks in the hierarchy, that had resounding effects, right? You can't say that he made some shit that was out of line and racist at the time, and then ignore the resounding effects that came out of that work. And people took those ideas in terms of black being lower, closer to baboon, and so forth, and implemented that shit.
Did they take that from Darwin? Now they use Darwin to say that.
Yes, social Darwinism.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. Social Darwinism is a misinterpretation of Darwin's work, bro. That's what
about but not specifically some of the things some of the statements he made in order to speak.
Sosa, let me get in there. What about Negroes are closer to apes and uncivilized races? Hold on.
That was racist and wild.
Right. No. My question is,
danger.
If I'm a radical person already, or I'm already predisposed to radicalism, right? And I believe I'm superior, or whatever the case may be, and I come across a Charles Darwin, and he says that Negroes are close to apes, right? In the hierarchy, the Anglo-Saxon is at the top. The Negro is just a notch above the ape.
But if you read his work, Negroes are apes.
I didn't say that they were apes. He said that they were just a notch above the ape in the evolutionary ladder.
Yeah,
in the evolutionary ladder, they're just one rung removed from the ape. I didn't say that they were apes, right? So if a radical takes just that, let's just take that part of it and says, man, these people are closer to apes, and if I get rid of them, it's for the better of humanity anyway. Now, what in that would be a misinterpretation? Not the natural selection stuff, just those two ideas. The idea of clearing off these inferior races benefiting mankind overall, and the idea that Negroes are just one rung removed from the ape. Where would a skinhead, for example, be misinterpreting those two?
No, I'm not saying he's misinterpreting that though, right? So, but the social Darwinism altogether is a misinterpretation of his work. Now, can you go through with a microscope and find things that Darwin got wrong and fucked up and was racist on? Yeah, I'm not gonna make an excuse for that, but I'm not gonna compare that. See, this is what we do when we compare. We're doing apples and oranges here, right? Because that wasn't foundational to Darwin's work. Is actually the truth would be the truth of his work would have hurt motherfuckers more, because the truth is that we not one rung above apes, right? The truth is that we are fucking apes, bro. So
yeah, that's what I'm waiting to get in, because it seems like you got the experts. The experts get behind Darwinism and they don't arrive somewhere crazy. Niggas get behind Francis Cress Wilson and they think genetic annihilation. Like there's no comparison as far as if you follow what Francis Cress Wilson is saying, you get to a brick wall that says that your only answer to this problem that she's crered is that you can't exist on the planet with white people. That's exactly what she's saying.
That's not what she's saying. And how can we wipe white people out? What is she saying? Go kill them? What is she talking about?
What else could she be suggesting other than violence?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking for clarity so you can understand what does she mean, so I can know that we understand the same thing. What is she talking about?
Okay, so this is like almost like the Fetty type argument, and I'm not trying to bring him into this conversation.
No. Forget that. I'm saying just answer
let me explain what I'm saying.
It's a simple answer.
She's suggesting that that white people's problem is genetic, right? What would that mean for us as far as
what I'm talking about? That's not what I'm talking about, bro. I'm saying how I'm asking. The question is how should they be wiped out? Is the question. How can we wipe them out?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read that.
She's talking about sex. She's talking about sex, breeding.
Yeah,
that's what she's talking
you
about.
Gotta do your due diligence to find out her talking points before.
That's what she's saying. The more we have sex with white people and breed them, basically, she's saying, to be vulgar, we can fuck them out of existence. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, so that's what I said.
Because she didn't say use a gun, don't mean she ain't talking about wiping them out.
It's the great replacement theory in reverse, bro. Like I don't like it's just.
Yeah, just because she didn't say use a gun, she's talking about wiping them out.
I mean, it's gonna happen. Shit, it's gonna happen anyway. It's happening anyway. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm saying, like, what we were talking about, we first started talking about damage, right? So yeah, let's say you save 20 million people, but we talk about damage. We can still point to the other people that you damaged. That's first what the conversation is about. The damage that came behind some of it.
What's more damage?
So when we look at eugenics and all the stuff that come from that, we could argue that shit was way more harmful.
Yeah, but Darwin didn't have nothing to do with eugenics, though, bro. That's the wild, dishonest part.
It didn't have anything to do with eugenics, but like he was pointing out, what he wrote about, if somebody was radicalized, and people at that time were radicalized, took his writings, right? Even though they erroneously used natural selection, they took some of the things and ideas that he espoused and implemented that shit, bro. In the name of eugenics.
It was 90% misinterpretation, right? That's all.
We'll talk about the 10%. We'll talk about the 10%.
Okay, so the 10%, I've already said the ape shit. Like, it's not even that wow, right? Because he's saying that we was one rung removed from apes, right?
Yes.
Which motherfuckers would have been way more uncomfortable if he would have told the actual truth, though, right? The actual truth is that we are apes. We not no one wrong removed from them.
Yeah, but he was already saying that, Corey. That's not an issue. The fact he was talking about in terms of intelligence and hierarchy. He was saying in a hierarchy, Corey, in terms of level. White people are at the top, blacks are at the bottom, and right below them are apes. That's what he was saying.
Yeah, that was bad. What do you want me to say? I said that was bad like 3 hours ago. What do you want me to say?
No, but I'm saying like, so what I'm
that wasn't his life work.
That thinking.
That my point.
Y'all keep saying that. All right, you got it.
Can I submit to the floor another piece of evidence about Darwin? If anyone could fire up their chat GPT, this is the question I want y'all to ask it. Did Darwin endorse his cousin Francis Galton's idea of eugenics by a letter? In a letter that he wrote to his cousin.
Nah, that letter. I'm thinking that letter.
Hold on.
Bro, come on. This is
what I'm saying. I remember that letter.
When you get involved with these guys.
No, we can go back over that. No, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. But I think
why you get so triggered, Corey? We just slow walking. We're just having a conversation.
Because the thing is,
the truth will come out in the wash. No, that's a real thing. No, we got the letter. That's what I'm saying. But I remember the letter.
Actual letter, Corey. It's not
actual letter. I remember the letter. I remember the letter differently though.
This is where Haskell becomes a problem at, right? Because even though Haskell can make good points and you can ride with him to a certain degree, but Haskell don't subscribe to evolution, right?
But that doesn't have anything to do with this discussion, though.
Yeah, it always does. Because you're going to keep going to, you know what I mean? There's nothing redeemable about Darwin. And it's them.
Man, you think I'm tearing down Darwin?
No, I don't care. No, I don't care. It's the reason why you turn them down. If it was just because of racism,
so you think I got ulterior? Ulterior motive.
Because if it was just because of racism, then me and you would be motherfucking tag teaming this motherfucker. But you don't even agree to the science that he brought forth that then stood the test of time. And that's part of your motive to tear him down. Like it's in it. It's baked in it.
Hold on.
It's baked in it.
Let him cook.
Chef,
he cooking, Chef. Don't try to do it.
Chef, hold on, Chef.
We got the same weapon, man.
I'm just making it clear. I'm just making it clear.
Hold on, Chef.
He was an abolitionist,
real quick.
Now he's an advocate of eugenics. Go ahead.
Real quick.
Let's right
well,
there.
he may not be, Corey. That's why I wanted to go over the letter, because I remember I tried to I did this with Sosa, and his interpretation was different than mine. I took the letter as not only a ringing endorsement, I took it as a vociferous endorsement of his cousin's policy plan, right? Sosa disagreed. I tried to have the conversation with Chef, but Chef said when he wrote the letter, it's kind of written in that old style English. So he said that he couldn't really decipher it. That's why I think this would be a beneficial exercise to see how ChatGPT would break it down. Does it see it how I see it? Does it see it how Sosa sees it? You get what I'm saying?
So now we're getting away from the where we was at too. Like, is his work is Darwin's work dangerous? Can his work be considered dangerous? Right? That, just like Frances Cress Welsing's work, I've already determined her work was dangerous, right? But your question is Darwin's work, can it be compared to Frances Cress Welsing? Is it on the same level with it, or can it be used in that way, right? So, and my thing is, not unless you interpret it wrong. Like, whether you purposely interpreting it wrong or accidentally, I don't know which one it would be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe I am. That's why I think.
No, I'm talking about like one who would want to use it. Not you. I'm not talking about you. Okay. Your interpretation. I'm saying who would want a skinhead, some skinhead that's reading Darwin, and he gets some wild ass racist shit out of it. It's probably more likely he's misinterpreting. He's misunderstanding what the fuck is being said there. That's probably more what it is. Now, somebody reading the ISIS
misunderstood
paper,
Corey, the hierarchy. You said he got that wrong.
No. The hierarchy part. So we're gonna keep going back to the hierarchy part, and I keep
that's what we're arguing for, Corey. It's not going back to it. That's the core of the argument.
Y'all was talking about this work, right?
Yeah, that part of the work, not the natural selection stuff.
This is one sentence out of all this man's work. We talking about one sentence though, but we're gonna talk. We're gonna include that as his work, right? So the hierarchy part. I've already said was racist though. I've already said like
and
3
we're
hours
saying
ago.
that, and we're saying that
that ain't nowhere near as harmful as what the shit Francis Cress Welsing was doing. That's my point.
Right, and
crazy.
Right, you want to even allow us a chance to build an argument,
Corey.
We're trying to build an argument.
To place us next to apes on a hierarchy is nowhere near what Francis Cress was.
I'm talking about the amount of shit. Like that was one.
He's more credible than her. So that could be even more damaging. Do you know how long we had to fight that we wasn't close to apes? Do you know how long that shit is? Oh man,
I think we are apes though. I think that's
no. I'm talking about gorillas. We're talking about the lower primates. When he was talking about
y'all
apes,
misinterpreting,
he was talking about another species of lower primate.
If y'all don't know the difference between, if y'all don't understand,
Corey, we know evolution, Corey. We know evolution, Corey. Come on.
As far as apes,
we know evolution, Corey.
That's not what he was saying, Corey. He not saying
he didn't use the word gorilla. He didn't use the word gorilla though. Like that's
he did.
He did.
Like, we already read
gorilla.
This.
Y'all told me apes. Y'all been sitting here saying ape the whole time.
Nah, he
now
did
say gorilla.
No, he said anthropomorphic ape in another statement.
And he went specific and named gorillas and chimps.
And I said, okay, fine, that's right. What y'all want me to do?
You tried to clear it up and say basically
because I thought
he was just calling us apes.
We are apes.
So you can merge it together and he could still come out kind of clean. I'm saying there's no way you can clean that.
So the gorilla shit, I didn't know about that part. Yeah, I just thought y'all said apes. My whole argument, y'all been hearing me say the word ape the whole time, and y'all ain't corrected me.
We thought you whole context.
Y'all waited to correct me on that, man. That's bogus, bro.
Oh man, he's a dancing dance machine.
No, I'm not dancing, bro. I've been saying ape the whole time, bro. That's why I kept saying, bro, we are apes the whole time. Like I don't know, maybe my bad, y'all. My bad. I was wrong. I don't know what y'all want me to say.
All right, so now with that new information, Corey, hold on.
Unredeemable racist?
No, hold on. But Corey, with that new information now, right? Let's reassess in terms of damage between Cress Welsing and
I think she still did more damage than him. I think she still to the black community. I think that's still more damage.
Corey. Do you know how long we had to fight that we wasn't
not because
monkeys and gorillas? Hold on. Do you know how long we had to fight that we wasn't monkeys and gorillas?
Yeah, that's fine. But it wasn't because of Charles Darwin. He actually cleaned a lot of that up, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, if it wasn't for him, a lot of that shit wouldn't be cleaned up now.
Positive. That was a part of it. That was in his works. What do you mean? He contributed to it.
Listen, Chef.
Read the statement again, Sosa. That's Darwin endorsing it and contributing to it.
Absolutely. But listen, you're not gonna go back and use Francis Cress Welsing's work and then clean her shit up. Like all of that shit right there, what y'all talking about, y'all can go use the same man's work and clean all that shit up, bro. With the same man's work.
Well, show me how you clear up that with
natural
his work.
Selection.
But show me. No, that don't clear that up.
Oh,
so he didn't know he was making a contradiction?
No, I'm saying we can look and see through his work that what his very own statement was wrong.
He's saying what we've learned, like the progression. Hold on, the progression of the understanding that we got from natural selection, going down the line, the further advances, eventually led us to the conclusion that those statements were erroneous. That's what Corey.
You can't do that with Francis Cress Welson's work.
Yeah, I get.
You gotta throw that whole
That's
shit
not
away.
a credit to him. That's
Right,
a credit to our further study.
Right.
He was where he was at. Nigga, you next to the gorilla.
Right.
No, I guess, man. I don't know. I find he on the same level with Francis
Don't
Cress
try to
Welson.
clear his bullshit up.
I'm not trying to clean his bullshit up, but I'm trying to say it's different than Francis Cress Welson, bro. So now I'm cool. Now we putting Darwin on the level of Francis Cress Welson.
I think he's way worse.
That would be worse when it came to us, though.
Way worse.
Corey. Placing us next to gorillas and apes. That's crazy. And we fought that for 100 years.
I can use Darwin to combat that, though.
You know how many? Can somebody pull up the racial or the hierarchy where it has the evolution of human beings, and it goes from the monkeys to the ape to the gorillas to the human beings, and it was the black man, and it went from the black man to the Asian to the white man. And that's his. That is all working hypothesis that he made.
Part of his legacy.
We had to fight that, Corey.
Yeah, I understand that, but the thing is, you can take Darwin's work and fight against that very thing you just said, though.
Yes,
how would natural selection?
You can't do that with Francis Cress Welson.
How does natural selection correct that, though, Corey? I got to explain for me if you could.
The natural selection is not because it's about the fit genes, it's the fit genes. He explains about the fit genes. It ain't about like, oh, this group of motherfuckers is more better off than this motherfucker. It's about being the adaptability and the fitness of your genes. That's what he was talking about with the natural selection.
Right,
so it put all the rest of that bullshit to rest that we were just talking about. You can go to sleep with that shit. You see what I'm saying? Like he put his own self to sleep. He told his own self to go to sleep with the bullshit. You understand what I'm saying? But you can't do that. You can't do that with Francis Cress Welson's work.
Yeah, you haven't answered my question though. How does his theory of natural selection correct the idea that we're the lowest?
I just told you it's not about the fucking the higher. It's about the fit genes, bro. He's talking about genes, bro. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
it's not about hierarchy of people and animals and shit like that.
Yeah,
it's about
I'm saying how does that correct? How does that correct his previous statement about us being close to gorillas, though? You ain't answer that.
Because bro, it's not a higher your fitness ain't based on how strong or whatever it is, or whether you a man or woman. It's about the environment and how fit you are to be within that environment. That's what he's talking about when he's talking about natural selection.
All right. I mean, I've tried a couple times. I don't get it. Maybe other people.
Maybe I don't know what you're asking. Maybe you might ask the question different. What is he asking, Chef? What is he asking me?
Anybody else on the panel?
Chef, anybody? Somebody tell me what he's asking me in different words or something. Maybe I ain't picking it up. He's saying, how would that
I'm not too sure. I'm trying to follow it, but I'm not too sure. I'm also still hung up on the comparison part though. Because I guess I'm probably like Corey. I see that they so disconnected. I don't see where trying to find a few little things that got in common. I don't see that. Me personally, I feel like we getting away from where we started with the Mujasi question, as far as like, so like, where is she producing better radicals or better revolutionaries? I think that's kind of where where's some of the clarity of the conversation? I'm lost now.
I don't know.
So you could
want to know, like,
restate it, Haskell, but I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know any other way to restate it. I was hoping that somebody.
I want to know how. I want to know how.
He's saying, "Wow, how do I clear that up?" Like, so he said the shit about the apes, right?
How you reconcile putting together a program that is designed to. Damn, y'all hear me?
You cut out for a little bit, Logic. Yeah, cut out a little bit. Say it again.
Oh, all right.
We can hear you now, I guess, but like when you get to going, it kind of goes out. Go ahead. Go ahead, Logic.
Go ahead, finish what you saying. Yeah.
Well, no, he was trying to ask
because I can't tell
about.
No, I was just saying I don't know how you.
Yeah,
you cut out.
You go. I'm tired of repeating myself.
Right.
Yeah, you go ahead, Corey, because I'm repeating myself. I'm tired of this.
You Borging real bad, Logic.
Right. Yeah, that Matrix is a motherfucker, but I don't know. You was asking me, Hassel, how does natural selection clean up the hierarchy?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to tell you that natural selection tells you it's not no hierarchy in that way.
So it contradicts what he says about blacks being
right. And he actually do that with observer. Now I think like the black shit was some type of opinion that he thought about, maybe. You know what I mean? Like this shit, this is his work.
So you think he didn't recognize that You think he didn't recognize that contradiction, or
I don't know whether he did or not. I just know it is a contradiction, and you can use his own work, the work that he did, to put the rest his.
So here's how I see it, right? Yeah, I don't agree that it's a contradiction. I think how you could easily reconcile it is that within his idea of natural selection, which is an organism's ability to adapt to its environment, blacks are the worst adapted, and Anglo-Saxons are the best adapted.
That ain't how. It's not worse than. So that's not how natural selection goes. It's not a worse than best. You understand?
It isn't.
No,
so
because you only adapted. It's either you adapt or you're not going to be alive. And
right.
You adapt. Listen. You only going to be fit for your environment. So
right.
Maybe we not good. Our genes ain't good to be in Europe. Maybe that's not the case. But in this bite of Benin, we got the best fit motherfucking genes here. It's what he's trying to say.
But you yourself said it a few minutes ago, or about a half hour ago, when you said he spoke cold and clinically about the savage races or the uncivilized being inevitably wiped out, right? That reconciles with his natural theory, his natural selection theory also, in that.
That was his.
Hold on, Corey, because he's saying that it's an eventuality that these lower forms of humanity will be cleared out, and that it will eventually be in a benefit overall for humanity. And the reason why they're going to be cleared out is because they haven't, terms of planetarily.
I'm mad about that because that's actually the truth.
I'm not. Do I sound mad? I don't think I'm.
I don't think that's racist. If it's the truth, it's not racist.
Right. No, I'm not arguing about the racism part right now. I'm saying that there is no conflict in him saying that Negroes are one rung above the ape, right? And the idea. Hold on. I'm saying that idea does not contradict natural selection. I'm saying they're perfectly reconcilable. That's my argument.
Bro, natural selection contradicts the fact that there's some type of hierarchy. That's my point. Now, wherever else you want to go from there, bro, I don't know. I can't go there with you. All I'm saying is natural selection. The work that you know him for. You don't know him for talking about well, maybe you do, right? But the world don't even know him for talking about the little bullshit, the bullshit sentence that you read to me, right? But the thing that he put out
bullshit sentence. Why is it a bull? It's what he wrote, Corey. What you mean bullshit?
What he said was bullshit. What do you want me to say?
Oh, you mean okay? I see what you mean. I thought you was saying it was like bullshit that I brought it up on some little clever shit. Okay, my bad.
The bullshit that he said. I don't know what you want.
Okay. My bad. I misunderstood.
Yeah. So like nobody knows him for that, but they do know him for natural selection, which contradicts any kind of hierarchy in the way that he was talking about in the letter or whatever he wrote in the book or whatever the sentence you read from, right? That contradicts all that bullshit. You see what I'm saying? The work.
I see what you're saying. I just happen to disagree, but I'm curious to hear from some other panel members. I guess everybody busy. I want to hear from some other folks if they think it contradicts or if it's reconcilable.
How does it contradict it, Corey?
Because it talks in his statement that y'all read, he talks about a hierarchy, right? Mm-hmm. And natural selection, don't work like that in no hierarchy. There are no hierarchies in natural selection. That goes against natural selection altogether.
So good. So you just proved that if it was contradictory to his science, then it didn't go along with his scientific theory, right?
And he's proven my point as well that it was based on the time.
So it was just a racist statement then.
Yeah. It wasn't based on his
yeah. That would just be racist. That was just his racism coming out.
But Chef, ain't that kind of proving my point that it was based on the time?
I don't know about the time.
Go ahead and prove that point. I don't know. George Washington and them was racist, and it wasn't just because of the time that they lived in. That plays a part in it, but it doesn't negate the fact that they were racist. And it wasn't the fact that human beings know better. Like that's the part that I'm having a hard time. Yeah, because the excuses that y'all posit as if it was just the time is basically saying that things did not know better.
Excuse me out of the times argument, because I ain't never said no time.
Racism doesn't mean that you don't know better. You dig what I'm saying? It means that you choosing to do that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with that part.
George Washington and them knew it was wrong to keep people as slaves and to beat people.
They wrote it down. They knew
that shit was wrong.
They actually wrote it down.
They profited from it, and they were complicit in human suffering. That's what makes them fucking vile and why we can't fuck with them. But we wouldn't say that they didn't write the Declaration of Independence. We don't throw the Declaration of Independence out the motherfucking window because we can acknowledge that the people who wrote it.
I think the ideas in the Declaration, I think those are some of the most revolutionary and most beautiful ideas in human history.
But you don't deny that the motherfuckers was racist. Who wrote it?
But hold on. Because right now I think we're doing Tiki Torch scholarship. I'm trying to listen because Sosa said I was talking too much. But now we're trying to burn him at the stake. And I just think it's just, remember the term racist didn't exist in 1882.
Oh my God, really?
Just no, I'm just saying it existed and we could do the thing of Francis Cress Welsing and all of that.
Oh,
but
racism is anachronistic then?
No. I'm not saying that. What? I'm saying the term, the word, how we use racist didn't exist at the time. So that's not a defense. That's just a fact. So I'm not saying.
But I don't understand how you're making that make sense.
No. Here's why though. This is why. Because racial hierarchy thinking in the science that he worked in, even if he knew it was wrong, he didn't create that. That just aligned with the consensus at the time. So it was still racist, it was still wrong, but he didn't create racial hierarchy thinking in his arguments on evolution. Racial hierarchy thinking was part of that. So that's
Francis
why
Cress Welsing didn't make up the
but we're talking about 1970.
the genetic shit.
Yeah, but we're talking about 1880 and 1970.
But the fact that she promoted it and put it in her work is why we call her racist.
Right, but I
didn't create it. She didn't
I
create
hate to
that
say this. No, I hate to say this. I'm gonna say it to you, and I thought I never would have to. Let's not talk about Darwin and Wilson. It's not even like that's giving her too much credit. It's actually like kind of crazy. That's not what I'm saying though. And then in that Victorian science that Mel was talking about, racial hierarchy thinking is in that. But here's the crazy part, Chef. My argument is even different with the at the time's argument. People were calling that racial hierarchy thinking at the time wrong. They were pushing back on it.
That's what I'm saying.
Even they were saying, right, I understand that. But I'm just saying
always knew that shit was wrong. It was always people against shit like that.
Right. But they just don't racial hierarchy thinking. I'm just making a statement that it wasn't created by him. That's all I'm saying. It was already and even was the
melanin thing created by Francis.
You keep going to Francis Cress Welsing, and I just don't. I'm not using the equivalence of Francis Cress Welsing and Darwin. I'm not doing it.
But I have to be fair.
You're not being fair to Darwin now. Darwin.
Fuck them. The nigga thought we was close.
Yeah. But his accomplishments. No. But I will take what he discovered. I'll take that. I'll take.
We don't have no choice in
that. I could throw him away easy, but we can't throw away evolution, natural selection. It would have happened whether he discovered it or not. So I get that, but she didn't create nothing on the lane of that. Nothing even close. Nothing.
Hey,
you know what? Stratosphere.
You know what I realized, Chef? When I did that show with Stu Pease back in the day, I did make a mistake. I should have did 2 separate shows because the first half of the show I addressed the racism, and then the second half I went after natural selection, saying that it's inviolable as a theory. And because the 2 of them happened on the same show, I think I overestimated people's ability to compartmentalize. Because even you said it earlier that you think I have an ulterior motive to kind of negate the natural selection thing because I don't buy into it. And that's why I'm so harping on the racial thing. So I think that was a mistake.
Mel, would you consider yourself pretty educated on Darwin?
Yeah, compared to the average person. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you. I'm gonna say this statement and tell me where I'm wrong.
They arguing that shit at Cambridge.
Darwin said all people come from one species and then turned around and ranked people by race. That's not science, that's contradiction, and it makes his hierarchy not just wrong, but racist. Is that a fair or
I didn't need ChatGPT to explain that to them 50 times before you came on.
You didn't need that you're not wrong in that assessment, but the answer you should be asking is why. And that's why I keep bringing up the Victorian.
No. Before we go to that. And it says, even in this day, some scholars rejected using evolution to justify colonialism. They saw the contradiction Darwin couldn't or wouldn't face because he was a racist. So my question to you is, so you agree, these are all yes and no. You agree that Charles Darwin was a racist even for his time?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and would you agree that while saying all people come from one species, but then turn around and rank people in a hierarchy from European to ape and putting us close to the apes, that would be the basis of his racism? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now I have an accusation to level. Now you said you was with the pseudo killers before, correct?
Or no, not pseudo killers. I'm a
Rock Squad. But you've watched Unk shows, you've watched pseudo killer shows?
Yeah.
Then how come every time somebody called Charles Darwin racist on them shows, they immediately laughed this motherfucker off the panel? If we figured this out in 2 hours.
Because people don't
honesty.
It's not even just that.
I think everybody up here is being honest.
I can answer the question, Brass. I think because for a lot of people who put a lot of stock in the natural selection theory, they believe that assenting to the idea that he was a racist, it kind of it then kind of makes it inextricable from the natural selection theory, and it kind of taints it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why they push back against it so much. And they think a lot of times that the people who bring up the racism have ulterior motives. So the same way you hear Aunt complain all the while about saying, "Hey, don't try to figure out what I'm saying or think what I'm thinking. Just take what I'm saying." You know what I'm saying? That's what he's doing. He does the same thing to people when they bring up Charles Darwin racism. He thinks they have an ulterior motive.
Most people when they bring up Darwin do have an ulterior motive because they're trying to throw away his science, his evolution understanding, his natural selection understanding because he was founded in racism. But that's why I'm gonna keep bringing the point up. It's if you look at how he was at the time where he was raised, they all thought that way. They all thought that Europeans were on the top and everybody else is on the bottom. So that matters.
You know what?
Too.
I won't even put that charge on them because I can't say unequivocally. I'm not well versed enough.
Do we forget about his abolition?
No.
Yeah, that too.
No. I ain't talking about Charles Darwin. I'm saying PK. I gotta go and look before I make that charge. I gotta go and look and see. I just distinctly remember people challenging Darwin on the racist thing, but I gotta go double check and see how that was. I
think they're saying the overall. I think they're saying the climate. I think they're saying the climate in general. You look at it from in total. You know, like you'd have people who would push back, but they're saying if you look at it like in totality, like the consensus was some racist shit at that time. Am I saying that right, Mel, or I'm going too far?
Yo, Deion Sanders had bladder cancer. That's what his issue was. That's crazy.
With the toes and shit? The toes?
No, he had his bladder. They took his bladder out. He doesn't have a bladder now. He had bladder cancer. Sheesh. Are you trying to coach football? Man, you need to go sit down, G. Oh, I apologize. I probably fucked the conversation. I'm a football.
Nah, you didn't.
I'm on the way.
Yeah, that was
on the way back.
That's to answer your question, Brass. And Mel, to his credit, he was candid about it. That they're protecting the natural selection theory. You know, I don't know how anybody else is, but I'm not timid about expressing my views. Like, I think he was a racist, and I think natural selection is bunk. I don't necessarily have to commingle the two. You feel me? I think I could compartmentalize the two. You feel me? I don't know about nobody else. Maybe some people do try to be sneaky about it. I'm not a sneaky dude. I run halfback dive every down, Brass. I don't believe in throwing the ball. Yeah, we run a halfback smash every time.
Yeah, no, I like the going thing of, and I probably pissed some Jossie off earlier, but I think
no, not at all, brother. Not at
all. Okay, being not taking a hard stance on some of this is the reason why we're still talking about Francis Gus Wilson in 2025. Like at some point, because then you watch The Tree, and then it's like, well, I don't like, Francis Gus Wilson. We know she's a pseudo. We ain't worried about her. But then you don't say that about John Henry Clarke. And John Henry Clarke was pushing her information and writing crazy forewords and racist books. All the while you trying to tell me that he's some kind of scholar or something. Like we can't confuse. At some point, resistance gotta equal accuracy somehow. You can't just be resistant and that be your thing. Like, oh, he spoke to power. The statement is actually speak truth to power. That's why I reject Martin Luther King, Malcolm X being brought up in the conversation, but I understand what Hicks did it, right? Because that actually brought a little balance to it. But it becomes like a virus. Like, I never thought we'd be having a conversation about John Henry Clarke, man. Did y'all, when we started this, did y'all think that that's where we was going? No, I didn't. It's almost like the more you investigate, the more you turn up. I don't
So
even
what if
now hold on. Let me say this last point. It might change the conversation. I don't even know if now we're talking about people. Are we talking about a thing? Like racism? Like, are we talking about people? Like Francis Cress Welsing, Diop, Clarke, Leonard Jeffries, Fuller? Or are we talking about racism that if we dug it pretty much on anybody, would we find the same fucking thing? The same hypocrisies? And maybe not make the argument specific to people, but specific to the topic. And maybe we'd even get more clarity. I don't know. That's just a thought.
See, and that's where I was going to go with the argument, because if the idea is that Darwin was basically cultured in, he was in a cultural container that fostered that type of thinking and reinforced it, and he was just a product of that, couldn't we make the same argument for a John Henrik Clarke or a Francis Cress Welsing, but just on the quote unquote Afrocentric side? So in that subset of society, right, Black people, African Americans, that notion that what white folks quote unquote had an innate, some sort of innate deficiency or innate thing that caused them to, treat us the way how they treated us. And that kind of became a thing. It became a cultural milieu that they were products of. Like, why can't we make that the same argument that's made for Darwin? Is it inapplicable to the Cress Welsingtons of the world? Or
I think we look at the contribution. So I think when we say what was seen as defense of the white guy, you're the European, I think it should be we're trying to separate the contribution. That's why I say I don't know if we should keep talking about people, because if we're going to start separating people's contributions based on their racism, separated from their racism, then we might be talking about we'd probably be better off talking about a thing, not a person. Because if we're going to talk about people, then and taking hard stances on it, are we taking hard stances on the racism and not the people? You know what I mean?
I thought we were talking about the work the whole time, because when we talk about Francis Cress Welsing, we're talking about the stuff that she said was the stuff that she was promoting was her being racist, right? So not necessarily like what she did when she went home.
No. I don't mean, that's not what I mean when I say talk about people. The reason why we're kind of talking about people at this point is because now, as we start putting names in and saying, well, this, and this, and doing some investigating, we're finding out, okay, Darwin put us closer to apes in the racial hierarchy, in that ladder, right? But then we're saying, yeah, but he discovered, I don't know how to word that necessarily, discovering evolution or discovering natural selection, but his works led to, I don't know, because evolution was happening with or without him. So whatever, his contribution is evolution, natural selection. So his contribution is something, while it would have been here with or without him, he's the person that recognized it or, put it forth or whatever. And then he said some racist stuff while he was doing this great thing for mankind. I still struggle to find the great thing for mankind that Francis Cress Wilson did, to even have, not to say to make their contribution be more than the racism, but to even put something. If you got the lady scales of justice, and that's my point too, Mujasi. If you do the scales of justice of Francis Cress Wilson, what do you put on the other scale other than her resistance?
And I take it a step further than that, and I can't even necessarily I can't find a specific contribution, even just for Black people, that you would consider something redeemable when you look at it in 2025 context.
Said the other past 2 days, being said, been having the damage conversation, right? What damage was caused by what people espouse, their work, their contributions, whatever, right? If I'm sure we can find larger uses of Darwin's work that was just, even if they nitpicked it, even if they pulled out certain parts of it, that it was more damaging how it was used than what Dr. Welsing's work was, right? Those European attitudes, whether it was, how they conquered, right? Through religion, they use doctrine in religion. They use military tactics. They use faulty trade tactics, and they use pseudoscience, right? And I don't think anybody can argue the impact that has had on the world. Imperialism overall, subset of that is colonialism, right? It benefited certain people. Like if your family in Europe or wherever benefited from that, it's a plus. But if you can go to say South America and just pick a sector, agriculture, or another sector, just Central America, where whole ethnic groups were like wiped out, whether through military or through disease, right? Just, you can see the damage on that end. So regardless of what these people intent were, what their work was, the further damage was done by the use of that or nitpicking. So if me and Said is talking about her melanin argument, right? You can say the damage is people, Black people, dark-skinned people, brown-skinned people, feeling they have superpowers or they're innately superior because they have darker skin. On the other side, people being savages, people having smaller craniums, people just being closer to eight. Like you can use that, and it has been used, just inferior in all of those things I mentioned: religion, trade, military. They use all that. That's a part of that. That's a part of that. So I think the damages on one side, that's a new conversation. And on the other side, are these people symptoms or are they the problem? That's what I wrote in the chat earlier. We talking about people or we talking about racism? If there's symptoms of racism and we just going to ignore the racism part, then let's just talk about the people. And when we talk about people, I may not have been the right place to say it the other day. We talking about human beings. And you could tell me where to stop critiquing a human being, but I may not want to stop. I may want to go into their personal. I may want to know where they live and what policies they support. Damn what they contributed. Some people may be interested. Things that are relative to their life, regardless of their work. So again, we talking about people, talking about racism, or we talking about, damages. Those are all, I think good things to talk about.
Well, now that y'all had a lot of that conversation, I think it's a bad place to have an argument. When you're looking at the damages, I don't think that's fair. You know what I'm saying? I think African Americans don't got the ability, don't have as much influence as white people. Even if they came up with an idea, white people certainly can put a lot more resources behind a particular idea, whether it's right or wrong. I don't know how fair that particular part is. You trying to assess the damages. I'm trying to stay within this box of Francis Plus Wilson was a part of some rhetoric or curriculum that claimed to be in opposition of racism, but seemed to be more effective at creating more racists than anything. That's the big problem that I'm trying to like stay right there, as far as they were attempting to do some sort of political ideology thing, and they basically made a factory for creating racists. That's exactly what they did, and that's I think that we getting away from exactly what that is, or what that was for the black community, right? Because that's what I think that how we kind of got on the conversation as far as why she's not good, right?
So you're saying she damaged
can't
people?
Be good to be talking about how bad racism is. I would definitely say the people that she contacted, most of them people, I would say damaged. For sure. One of the people that you got in reverence, I think that might be a little bit questionable. It says that she has a much larger influence on you than it should, because there's not much good to say about her other than she's a black woman and she went through racism in the 70s and 60s. But once you get past that, like, ain't no contribution there like that. How do we now? We done reorganized what a contribution is when we're talking about somebody shouting racist. Like, what are we calling a contribution at that point?
But you're claiming she damaged something. But you're claiming she damaged something. How do you assess her damage? You telling me you can't assess damage, but you claim she's damaging something, right?
Oh, so I mean, I'm saying that creating racists is damaging. Are you disagreeing with that?
How do you assess the damage? There's amount of damage.
I don't know about a quantifiable thing there. I'm not even trying to do that.
But we can agree people assess damage in the amounts, right? This is not crazy, right? There's a little damage, there's a lot of damage. How do we assess the damage? Right? One person was affected, 1,000 people affected, 500,000 people affected.
That'd be a hell of a case study right there.
Yeah,
I
get what you're saying.
You gonna find any measurements with that?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's not really, it's not possible to follow it, because I don't see that as like some kind of reality. I don't think you'll ever be able to put some particular percentage on this damage that you're talking about. That's why I said I don't think that's a great argument.
If we spin with the conversation of damage, one of the things that we were elevating, I'm sorry, I just got done doing some push-ups. One of the things we were talking about over the last few days is some of the ideas that she espoused that we say was misleading, disinformation, or pseudo, and how it's spread to the psychological assessment for Black folks. And so we're saying that that's damage. We're saying the ideas of Black male sexuality that she promoted, this recessive inferiority of whiteness, this kind of inborn thing that white people have that taps into their fear and motivate their racism. We're saying that the ideas of that was damaging to Black people. And the misnomer about this and the complex of using this damage type of assessment is that it will be difficult to assess what type of damage and how does that manifest, because with Black folks, let's say we internalize that as a collective in the United States and probably global. How was that impacted white people? How did that impact us? Did we end up transforming that into some type of project or program that has harmed or dehumanized white people and subjected them to some type of social condition that has damaged their human existence? That's what I'm looking, because when I was asking the questions earlier, I was asking more on the terms of what you were saying, logic was just the idea of the body of work that she produced, not necessarily her. I know we're not criticizing her as a human being. We're looking at the impact of her work. And so to say that she may have got to say that some of the things that she espoused that she more than likely probably got wrong because it wasn't backed up by science and empiricist research. How can we say that it was damaged and ignore the other contributions that she put on the table that did advance language, ideas, frameworks to understand our global conditionings against white supremacy? That's what I'm having a hard time with. Is that, like I mentioned the other day, I can't ignore the other contributions. I have to measure each of our Black scholars based on their excellence and not their perfection. And what I think I'm interpreting, I could be wrong, is that somebody else got measured on their excellence, whether some people misinterpreted what they were saying or not, but then somebody else over here is measured on her perfection, and if she got one thing wrong, one of her ideas wrong, we just completely cancel everything else that she's contributed and added to the table. And so I think that's the piece that I'm kind of conflicted with.
Well, what are you calling her positive contributions?
Say that one more time, you cut out.
Yeah, what are you calling her positive contributions?
Again, I think
I'm struggling to find those. I don't know them.
Okay. So to back some of my claim up, I've read the ISIS papers, but read the Osiris papers. Dr. Raymond Winbush, Baltimore native. I don't know if Chef knows him or not. Teaches at one of the colleges over there. He edited a collection of different essays over the last year or so, put together of people who've reviewed her work, praised her work, and criticized her work. And in there, you will see some of the elevation of the material that she put forth and some of the speeches and lectures and some of the things that she espoused, going from her theories all the way to some of her frameworks of understanding the globalization of white supremacy, which is what Hitz was referring to. And so we have to look at all of her work, her full body of work, to make an assessment.
Can you think of any examples off the top of your head? Some of those things?
I'm sorry, but I wish I could. I could possibly go and get to my office and grab the book off the shelf. But one of the key things is her advancing some of the work behind Lee Fuller, his 9 areas of white supremacy. And some of the pieces that she spoke about and advanced was like even understanding the economic realities of how white supremacy shows up in various nations and how it organizes politics and body politics around oppressing different groups of people and maintaining that level of oppression of a group of people and not exterminating them. That she pushed the effort, the idea that an oppressive group is not going to completely decimate a group of people that they oppress because they need them. They need them for various labor, subjugation, whatever. At least that level of ideological framework was advancing some already existing thought. She didn't invent it, but she was advancing it. And during the time that, whether we say the 70s or the 80s, that was a time where people were starting to grapple with understanding more structural analysis of white supremacy. There was other people who talked about it before, but it wasn't household language.
It was in a very general kind of vague.
Yes, sir.
You didn't
very
have,
vague.
And
so she was one of a few, like Michael Bradley, or Marima Ani, various people, Amos Wilson of that time, who was bringing it down to conversations that me and you can have right now. Because in the 60s, 70s, that was still somewhat of a concept that was difficult for the average brother and sister to understand. Some got it, but very few. We only understood white supremacy as colored and white. That was it. We didn't understand the structural analysis that took it beyond the South and made it a global reality to where we can finally look at the Brown v. Board of Education and say, that wasn't a progressive thing just for Black folks' political environment. That was a consideration of how America was being viewed on a global level. And so she can provide that language. She provided the language to help analyze that from a global point of view that changed the landscape of how we view incidents like a policy like that. I hope I'm being clear. I'll end there.
You find any value there, Logic? You said no?
I heard what he said. I would say, first off, Mujasi, appreciate you always as usual. And honestly, I hate
Likewise.
when I have to disagree with you because I never wanted to be anything more than I'm just disagreeing with what you're saying.
Oh, no, absolutely. I
But
welcome the
what I got
disagreement.
out of what you said was is that it could be it could be even worse than what we're saying. I don't got these. You have a limited familiarity with her work in general, right? So when you go back and look at it, it could be even worse than what we're talking. When you get to the nitty gritty of it, and at a forefront, your initial disposition would be to protect it. And it's not even so. What you're protecting isn't even about what you're aware that it says, right? Your initial stance to protect it is more about like how you initially feel about the topic. And it's not, it has nothing to do at all with what she said. That's my first impression about what you were saying. Because if it's about Neely Fuller and all that other stuff, I mean, I don't know about the raving reviews on somebody that's an open racist. Like I don't want to put that on the record as far as saying, well, he's on to something. Like I can't use him being a racist as well. He's on the, you know what I'm saying? He's on the right track. That's the kind of, yeah.
So you think Neely Fuller's a racist too?
If Frances Cress Wilson is simply summarizing Neely Fuller, then the shit Neely Fuller be saying gotta be off the goddamn chain.
You got to read his material. Yeah, you got to read his material.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, not really.
That's
Neely
just like
Fuller was
with
making some good points. He was making some good points. He was just, I think, overemphasizing white supremacy a little too much, and it was a little conspiracy theory. But if you listen to like his old little radio talk shows and all of that, he was kind of going in, bro. Like as far as social
I've checked them out. I've checked them out one time. They sound really similar, and I mean, if they sound really similar, I don't see that as a vote of confidence for Neely.
It is dangerous. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It is dangerous if a young person listens to that and creates, like, as a result, develops this paranoia as to looking at white people a certain way, and how if you just look at any white person, they're a part of the overall system trying to keep you down. I don't agree with that.
Right, and here's so like, and my big argument is that if a young person listens to this with no backstory, no context, right, there's no way that they come out of that better equipped to handle racism today. Not at all. Like I think that's the biggest problem with that shit.
I agree with that.
That wouldn't be uncommon for like, and I know it may take away from
that's what it claims to do.
No, hold on. It may not deal with the minutia of things, because anybody can be really critical on something and make a lot of points being very critical on one or two points. But reality is, right, most people, children alike, are not exposed to a super singular ideology that they wouldn't, once they left their home or interacted with another child or another adult like a teacher, a school bus driver, their neighbors, wouldn't be able to pick up differences, right? And how something contradicts something they thought or heard. We as humans go through that all the time. We find out new information. We find out the older we get, and anybody older or even at any age will tell you, I don't think the same as I did when I was 6. Now, if you're talking about, hold on, and if you're talking about indoctrination, where you have, say, a cult setting where these people cannot get out of this bubble, they are force fed this information. They are not allowed to communicate with their family like that extreme. Like that would have to be an extreme circumstance. That would be the only damaging thing. And again, I'm on to damage. How do we assess damage, right? Not how do we do it, but what is the impact of that? I think Neely Fuller and all of them, the ones we're talking about, are the symptoms of racism. They ended up purveying that. They are part of what racism and racist people put forth. They're the products of that, right or wrong. I'm not blaming, not blaming. They are they ended up being the purveyors.
I don't think in the case of Neely Fuller though, you done, brother? You still have some more to say, or
no, I'm done. Let.
Yeah, I don't think in the case of Neely Fuller, at least I don't know of anything similar to like in the case of Francis Cress Wilson that you could point to that's patently racist though. So I don't know if he could be placed in that same category. Now, as to Logic's assertion that I guess Neely Fuller kind of harping on a particular topic can make a young person, who doesn't have anybody necessarily to kind of filter the work, and that can make them paranoid and insular, because that can happen, right? So if you were 12 years old, I guess, or 13 years old, and you didn't have a father, or maybe your parents aren't around, maybe your mother isn't there either, right? And you're just in your room listening to Neely Fuller, and he's talking about white supremacy being active in all 9 areas of human activity, right? I can see a young mind taking that as, well, damn, these motherfuckers control literally everything. So what's the point of me even trying, right? But I don't see how that wouldn't invalidate the statement that white supremacy is pervasive in all 9 areas of human activity. In my opinion, that's just a statement of fact. If the idea is that young people can get kind of jaded based on not having the emotional maturity to properly filter or process certain sorts of information, then there's a lot of people who are going to have to throw away. You know what I'm saying? Because like reality is ugly, right? Like you have to be able to know all of this information. Like if you think about it, the average person in America doesn't know the minutia about slavery. They don't know about like in the Caribbean, people being buried up to their necks and having ants like just eat their heads, and pregnant mothers' bellies being slit open, and like your average person doesn't know the granular details about that sort of stuff. It's only people that, because we find that stuff, we're into that. You feel what I'm saying? So not everybody, if they were to come across that, they could very well get super radicalized and just say, I want to just go out and go on some Nat Turner shit 2025 style. But that's not an indictment on the people who pervade the information. The information is still correct. So that's a tough criticism, Logic.
It is, and some of it we have to look at what the intent of audience was. I don't think any of them was writing to the child, like in the scenario that Haskell just said. I don't think any of them scholars was specifically writing to children in that way. They were writing for like journals, like academics, other political commentaries of that time. They was oftentimes writing to their colleagues and translating this to the public the best way they can. But it wasn't intended for children or adolescents to try to grapple and wrestle with some of the ideas that they were working with. Because I can imagine that if somebody, and maybe somebody did, I don't know, somebody was to pull Neely Fuller, Derek Bell, or any of them to the table and say, how would you communicate this to children and teach them about the realities of America, white supremacy, and the globe, they will have a different way of approaching it. And this is just my imagination. I don't know for sure. But I can imagine that it wasn't designed, but the way they wrote this, it wasn't designed for that audience.
So who's next on the critique block from the Afrocentric community? Who's next?
Yeah, because John Henrik Clarke, he's out of here. Chris Wilson's out of here. Neely Fuller's out of here. Leonard Jeffries out of here. Dr. Ben out of here. Damn, who we got left?
I don't know enough of names to even.
I mean, what about Marima Ani, Derek Bell? Let's throw a few of them on the table and see.
How about the more recent ones? How about the more recent, like very recent? Because I know some of the younger people, Fetty, Logic, they not feel bad or negative, but the old head stuff and bringing up the old past and all that, they might not be too happy with that all the time. So who do we got currently?
Man, I ain't gonna lie to you, Hits. All the people who are in that kind of vein, the ones who are prominent anyway.
That's it? They ain't no more?
They would, no,
they don't make them like that no more?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. When you think about the people today who would be, I guess, the descendants of that sort of ideology or train of thought, at least as far as the prominent people go, okay, the first two names that come to mind would be Dr. Umar Johnson.
Oh yeah, I wasn't going to say it first though. I was not going to say it first. He doing this old critique. I think he don't need nobody.
Yeah, you get into it. You get into it because you're finding out when we talk about real activism today that there's no direct connection to real activism from them.
From the 60s
you don't see them using their rhetoric. We don't see, but some kind of way we get here and we gotta find some way to like figure out how we gotta keep these people relevant.
Yeah, you cutting out, Logic.
I don't like that's a thing that we just keep doing, but yeah, when we be asking like why is that, and I don't think that we ever really get a good answer.
But let me say this. I'm sure there's plenty of Makashuka Barashangos and Derek Bells and Amos Williamses and Neely Fullers, and they're still out there writing. 2025, I believe there are new iterations of those people, but they're just not They're not popular. They're not prominent. I want to say that because of how society is today, with everything being so, the instant gratification and entertainment kind of being prioritized above everything, more than anything, because I think like in the 60s or 70s like that, I think people would sit down with this type of material. I don't think in 2025 you need some bells and whistles. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't have no bells and whistles going on, you're gonna get tuned out. Like look at perfect example. I think these people were pretty good. What's her name? The ADOS Yvette Carnell. All right, so let's look at Yvette Carnell and Antoine. What's Antoine's last name? I forgot.
Antonio Moore.
Antonio Moore. All right. So the thing that I like most about what they had going on, especially with Antonio, he brought into stark relief with numbers the actual gap between white and black America, right? He goes into the household wealth. He points out the fact that most of the wealth is concentrated in the black community, is concentrated in a few hands, and most of it was gained during the boomer generation, right? Like he really, 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 really puts it into stark relief, gives you dates and facts and all of that, right? But a young person, for the most part, they're not trying to listen to that. Like all Tariq did, he took the same framework, he made some puppets, he cracked some jokes, and before you know it, he usurped them.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a different time. I think them people still out there.
Another person who I throw on the table is Ta-Nehisi Coates. You know, I appreciate some of his work. His literature, pretty strong. As a journalist, he speaks pretty strong around certain issues, around the embedded nature of white supremacy. And his article, I can't remember the exact title, where he explored reparations, was a bell. It got him some attention. Do I agree with everything he states and he positions on? I don't. But I can appreciate, just like you did, Haskell, that there's certain elements that you have to judge them on their excellence with. There's certain things that they presented that you can say that was on point, and I can validate and support that position.
See, this is what I'd be afraid of. Like, Ta-Nehisi Coates is he actually does work. Like he actually does journalism, right? He actually reports, on actual issues, and some of it is his opinion, but a lot of it's based in fact and research. So like a Ta-Nehisi Coates wouldn't be talked about in the same vein as your Cresswell scenes and your Benz and the rest of them. You know what I mean? Like the work that he just did some recent work with the Palestinians and shit like that, and the Jewish motherfuckers. They about ready to cut his throat for that. But yeah, he does real good work. You know what I mean? And even if he has a level of propaganda, right, it's very measured and it's almost seamless from the facts and the reality behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Corey. I think there's going to be a group of people 15 years from now who's going to be analyzing Between the World and Me, which is Ta-Nehisi Coates' work and his other publications, and they're going to be trying to cancel him. They're going to be analyzing him from their rubric and their reflections, and they may say he got some things wrong. And so at the time that some of the other folks was writing their material, I think they said the same thing you're saying right now, Brother Corey, is that they grounded in research. They're speaking what Brad said earlier, truth to power. It may not have been facts to power, but truth to power. And they were speaking of the synergy of that time. So I agree with you. I think you're right. I just think criticism is always going to be subjective in that position.
Yeah, definitely. But again, like I say, the criticism comes with a qualifier, right? Like we can't criticize everybody with the same eye. Like we have to look at each case on its own basis. You know what I mean? So everybody got to stand on their own. Ta-Nehisi Coates can't float on, Malcolm X's merits. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not gonna be. He got to float on his own merit. You know what I mean?
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And I'm willing to change my terminology, right? Just to, olive branch, different ideas, with people. Instead of damages, impact. The impact of the people, their work, of racism, currently, even if we look at that may be more palatable to people, the impact of these people. What was her name? Jones, that she did the 1619 project.
Nicole Anna Jones.
Nicole, I said her name backwards. So, yeah,
you got it.
That that was praised and scrutinized like heavily.
Yep.
And we had that discussion not too long ago. You know, the six, now whether she's an activist, you know, or Afrocentric, that's another thing. We can't leave that part out. These people were Afrocentrists or speaking to Afrocentrists. Maybe today they are not that, you know, equivalent on that level. They may just be, like you said, speaking the truth to power, in some cases, facts to power. But her project got scrutinized from both sides. You know, black people, just say in the black realm, there were black people who didn't like it. They said, like, you're starting with slavery. There were black people who agreed with it. Like, you know, they can support it. So, but maybe that's the internet era, right? Where you can engage in these things instantly and give your opinion instantly. So definitely a different dynamic now. But I'm interested in what, you know, today too. Let's see what's going on today with people. What we got out there now. That's kind of pseudo, but you know, they got some good points, but they got some pseudoisms in there too. Who called it good pseudoisms? Who said that? Was that Haskell? Somebody said that the other day. Good pseudoisms, if there's such a thing.
So y'all on the search for a modern example of somebody intentionally using pseudoism to get the job done? Is that what we done got to?
Well, I guess intent would be later on, but you know, we find the people who are espousing ideas that, you know, they say are to help their people, you know, but may also be criticized as pseudo, you know. And I think maybe now because of technology, we think we can prove something pseudo instantly. I don't know if that's the case.
Let me
there's
add
always
another.
new
Let me add
information.
another layer to that. Do we have someone who works in academia, right? Someone who's college educated doing it? I think that I'm gonna add that as a caveat too.
Well, according to some of the recent, Egyptology arguments, they quote unquote, Haskell is one of them. They've exposed people in academia who are pseudo. And I know the Egyptology part, but that's a loose affiliation to say the average African American, but a deep affiliation to the conscious community. So I think that's a legit usage. What's his name? Kiata, don't get me to messing up people's names. Wasn't there some pushback on his ideas? I think Haskell was one of them that pushed back on it. People with more knowledge can speak to that.
I think in a different way though. We were criticizing a term that he chose to use over another term, but he's still referring to the same thing other scientists are referring to. So I don't think that's the same thing.
Hey, but logic. Now, whatever term Keita was using, though, wasn't he qualified to do it because he was in the field?
Yes, I guess according to how we framed this argument, yes.
Right. So then, but Welsing was a psychiatrist.
I think.
No, we're not. No,
I'm saying it's
time.
different because
but we're trying to stay in present
he decided to not use subset heron, which is a term that everybody uses, and he decided to use super negroid. What he's saying, but it's a different word to describe the same thing. So he kind of didn't. He definitely didn't do what Francis Cress was going to do. It's not the same.
No, we're trying to find the equivalent.
She went beyond what was on the page.
Okay.
Of the textbook.
Yeah. I don't know these people like Kiara and them enough to.
Me either.
So yeah. So no, that's what we're trying to do. Since I think we spent a decent amount of time in the past, and time flies. Like what's going on right now will be the past fairly quickly. I just heard some of my friends' kids, grandkids, are like getting out of college. I'm like, hold on, you mean the one I just put over my shoulder like yesterday? Are you serious? College? Nah, you can't be serious. So, time flies. So there has to be, if we can critique those errors and what else was going on at that time and try to, ascertain why these people said what they said, did what they did, we can do the same thing now. Obviously, we don't have the Monday morning quarterback option yet, but we will. So
Umar Johnson falls under. It's funny when you look it up, the names that come up. Dr. Umar Johnson, school psychologist and Pan-Africanist, claims white supremacy is a global system of psychological warfare. Kaba Hiawatha Kameni, formerly Booker T. Coleman. He's an Afrocentric educator featured in Healing Colors. Talks extensively about melanin as a spiritual power, ancestral memory, and the legacy of ancient African knowledge.
Here we go. That's the type of people we need to talk about.
Wait till you hear the next name. Brother Polite.
Never mind, you got to read
it. This is ChatGPT. We ain't got to read that one. Once associated with Nuwapianism and Dr. Malachi York, promoted Black economic empowerment, metaphysics, and race-based conspiracy theories. Not a scholar in the academic sense, but he uses a Welsing-style confrontation of white supremacy through spiritual or biological claims. Tariq Nasheed, film producer, media personality, not a scholar, but highly influential.
Algorithm breathe, yo.
Brad, by the way, two things with ChatGPT. I'm sure everybody knows it, may have forgot. If you want different answer than your previous stuff, start a new chat or tell it not based on anything I just wrote, and then this way you don't got to keep starting a new chat. If you're trying to get a whole separate view, so either start a new chat, and you can delete your chats too. So if you got a bunch of crap in there, you don't want to keep seeing, in your library off to the left, you can delete.
But it says Tariq Nasheed also. It says emphasizes the idea that racism is about genetic survival and anti-Blackness, though more political than scientific. His rhetoric echoes Welsing. So
I think the second person you mentioned.
I had a phone call. What was the question you asked it, Brass?
I ain't asked anything.
No, we're trying to find some current people who may fit the bill of people similar to, say, Francis Cress
What
Welsing.
did I ask ChatGPT? I said, I asked it, are there any present day scholars that would fall in the vein similar to Cress Welsing of race-based critiques? And they named those 4. But I want to look into this Booker T. Coleman.
See, I was about to say, I'm going to have a problem with that because I'm not throwing away
populated to light and
throw away Booker T.
as scholars.
But that's not, hold on. You know Booker T. Coleman?
Yes. Was it Kaba, Hiawatha, Kime? I can't remember his other name. Yeah, that, bro.
Trash.
No, bro.
No. It sounded like you sneezed or some shit. Go ahead.
Nah, but I fuck with him though. I know he's pseudo. I know he's pseudo as shit, but I don't like.
But you fuck with him, bro.
With Joshy got me. With Joshy got me because like, yeah, bro. No, I'm just saying that. No. I didn't say that. I'm just talking about it as an example of people that I'm not. So like, He said some something. Yeah, I know. See, I can't do it.
Wait. And so, okay, no. This follows it though. This is what Hicks was looking for. He is a former public school teacher, an Afrocentric historian. I'm so tired of hearing that term. You either a historian or you ain't. A frequent speaker in the conscious community circuit. Hidden Colors inside Netter TV. Classic.
Oh, goddamn.
Look, he says melanin is a power.
The fact that it even populated him as a scholar is egregious. That's egregious.
It says he doesn't claim to be a scientist, but he was a licensed public school teacher. So he taught kids. Now, when we start talking about damage and harm, Kamini, this is a school teacher now. Kamini often speaks of melanin as more than pigment. He describes it as a spiritual, cosmic, and intellectual substance.
Yeah, he does.
Let's go. Hey, we might have to watch some of his videos. If he has some videos, we might have to. Yeah, we might have to.
You know what's even funny? Hold on. The more melanin you have, the greater your connection to the universe. He believes Black people are the original humans and carry divine memory and ancestral intelligence. You are not a human having a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience, and your melanin is recording it. White supremacy is a global fear response. Racism as a defense mechanism from whites who fear Black genetic dominance. In Hidden Colors, it says they know.
So what you like about him again, Smalls? What you like about this?
I was about to say, the more
let Brad finish.
I can't remember
why I like Let's stay right here. Hold on. Let's get all the
information. Yeah.
He directly echoes Wilson's theory and is a supporter that white supremacy is driven by a fear of genetic annihilation. He often connects ancient symbols like the Ankh, pyramid, and serpent to DNA, consciousness, and melanin in metaphorical ways, not scientific. This reflects Wilson's habit of blending symbolism, psychology, and biology, even though unqualified to do any of the three. She does it in unproven ways. Kamini is less confrontational. This is where he diverges from her. He's less confrontational. He doesn't cite data or publish academic research. He teaches through lectures, YouTube, and cultural symbolism. And he uses African spirituality and cosmology way heavier than she did. He says how you would describe him. He's the spiritual cousin of Frances Cress Wilson. He teaches that melanin gives Black people cosmic power and that racism is fear of our divine essence and that white people hate us because they are afraid of genetic annihilation. The only difference is that he does it not through science, but through African symbolism and cultural memory. Kill that nigga.
Listen, I have a very dark-skinned friend. His name is Travis. I need to get off here and call him right now. Let him know we've been bullshitting. I'm light-skinned, so I ain't got it. I need to call him up. I got to go. Y'all playing games, man. I'm cosmic.
But now
I want to apologize.
This is an educator in 2025. When we were saying, hey, no, hold on, Smalls. I distinctly remember people saying, man, don't nobody believe in that got any sense. Man, we ain't got to worry about that in 2025. Who said that? But this public school teacher that's teaching kids and on Hidden Colors.
I think a good term in there that maybe we could blanket. Also, another one, maybe not Afrocentricity. Like I think that, like Brad said, I'm tired of hearing it too. African spirituality. Like to me, that's another one that's I'm sure under that umbrella, it's a lot going on. African spirituality. Anybody disagree with?
No, I don't.
Didn't Unc debate somebody on African spirituality that it wasn't like a thing or something? What was that guy's name? Matter of fact, he did. What was the dude's name in Canada?
What do he look like?
The African dude. What's
the African guy that was working? Yeah, he was working for like a warlord or a dictator or something. And
what was that nigga's name?
But he live in Canada.
I think you're thinking about
the bald head dark skin dude. The bald head dark skin dude.
Yeah. What you
say? Hold on. Sekou.
I'm debated them on whether we should still use it, right? Whether we should still use African spirituality or something like that.
I thought they hated each other. I didn't know they had a debate. I thought they couldn't get past 10 minutes talking to each other.
They had a debate.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
African spirituality.
And I think pretty much watched them on that as far as I can remember. But
yeah, but the community lost. I remember that conversation.
Yeah, but they all
remember that. He was mad. He was like, I can't believe y'all falling for this shit.
But you know what? I mean, damn.
Matter of fact,
when you just read that though, Brad,
you need to dumb down.
Right. Yeah, I remember now. You know what though?
But you follow him, Small.
No, wait. After you read that though, I swear, bro, I can't. It wasn't even on no conscious community shit. It was and it damn sure wasn't Hidden Colors. It was some documentary that I just liked how we talked on. It was more about politics. Yeah, nah, fuck that though. Throw that nigga away too. Like, I mean, like you see how when a nigga catch me, like I just be like I'm wrong.
Like, no, but you see how the umbrella. See, like that's why I don't accept when people just go the times. At least when Hits do it, he do it with narrative, some kind of balance. But when you just blanket always say, "Well, it was the times," and that was then, this is now. Okay, well now we got Dr. Umar Johnson. How much money is he stolen out of the black community?
Who we throwing away now?
Not enough. He said he broke. Obviously, he ain't taking enough money.
We throwing away Booker T. We throwing away.
Now there's this guy named what's his name?
Booker T. Coleman. Hiawatha Kimmy.
Yeah, but his name
Booker T. Coleman. Booker T. Coleman.
So we finding out that he's a direct. Because remember they kept telling us, Chef, that that was then. Ain't nobody ever say nobody of any sense says she got credit at work. Well, this is a public school teacher that taught kids. ChatGPT called him Frances Cress Welson's cousin. He mirrors her
spiritual
cousin.
And Chef, while you were out,
and this is a guy that's teaching our children.
And I was standing up for that nigga while you were out, Chef.
Yeah, because not say nothing about he's doing it again. Always capping for the wrong people. Not say nothing about Booker T. Coleman. What's wrong?
I didn't say that. Don't put the sauce on it, bro. I didn't say all of that. I just said I wasn't going to. I just said I wasn't going to throw the nigga away. It was something I liked about him, but not after you read that. No.
At some point, Mujahid's gonna be like, "Y'all gotta stop." All that balance gonna go out the window.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do.
No, what are y'all doing? You're burning the house down. You're trying to burn it down.
Man, you're not gonna do my brother like that. But don't do Mujahid like that, bro.
Are you
here's I got a confession. No, I got a confession. No, I'm familiar with them, but this is the hard thing about, and I've said this numerous times in other settings, that Akbar's principle of measuring some of our people based off of their excellence and not perfection is not an easy thing to do, because there's some people you gotta hold up and just say like, damn, what can I pull or extract from their work, their practice, and their material activism that I could stand on and say, I can give them an excellent point of evaluation from there. Because there's some people it's hard to do that with. I struggle with Umar Johnson. I can't even call him a Dr. Umar Johnson. I struggle with them. Baba, what's his name? Baba McKean. I struggle with him.
Booker T.
Booker T. I struggle with Booker T. There's some people today, and there's some people in our history that I do grapple with Akbar's principle of that method. And so I just do the best that I can to say, like, is there something that I could pull out of that I could say that's teachable, that's useful, that has some utility to the work and the discourse of our people? Not everybody I could do it to, and that's maybe my flaw.
No, it's not. Do you remember when I was saying damage? And I was saying with Frances Cress Welsson, my issue is she gave a black doctor, female doctor, gave an excuse for white supremacy.
Yes,
and
sir.
then I almost backed down when Unc and them was saying, Well, yeah, that was back then. Ain't nobody ever promote her works. I always think silence is support, but that's me. That's a whole separate argument. But in the same token, though, fast forward 2025,
right?
They didn't throw her away. Now here's the thing. I don't mean literally in the garbage. I revere her resistance, but the fact that there wasn't such a hard stance on stop, like this is unacceptable. Like, cool, you fighting resistance, but melanin theory and color confrontation and all that kind of stuff, you gotta stop. And then because that wasn't stopped, you get Booker T, Umar Johnson. And now, if we want to talk about what Chris Wilson did in the 70s and writing ISIS papers in 91, I know we can all agree that Dr. Umar Johnson's grift has been damaging to the Black community. No question at all.
Absolutely.
Okay, hold on though, Brass. The only way we can find out where was the pushback, no, if there was pushback, where was it, who was it, and how much it was, is we have to look at the relative time period. So it's easy for all of us to go, that's outlandish, that's pseudo, it's openly racist. Where's the pushback? To me, that's a bigger question. And if Corey and Chef and me, we all agree there were people who were obviously less than now, college educated, in tune with the news and what's going on in society. To me, that's a bigger question. Where the fuck was everybody?
Oh, that's a good question.
We done beat her up. So if everybody's so fucking awesome, where the hell was they? Was they scared?
And now you
I'm assuming they was working.
Let me address that.
Go ahead, Chef.
So check it out. Now, we was having these arguments before, right? And we brought up Mary Lethowich, right? Now, this is a white woman who debated the other white guy. God damn, what's the white guy name, Dave? Well, anyway, Burnell, Martin Bernal, right?
Yeah, Martin Bernal.
Right, but she in her book, now we can read the opening of her book, and the reason why she said the critiques didn't go towards Afrocentrists is she was saying because white people were scared to be called racist. That if they motherfucking, challenge these Afrocentrists, that they would have been called racist. She said she had meetings with the staff at universities, and they were scared to say something because they felt as though Black people in their space should be allowed to get that shit off. And other academics turned a blind eye towards that shit. These people was never credible. Everybody always looked at, it's just that we're just hearing about that shit. They allowed them to get it off, and they were scared that if they
where were the black people?
But if her work is tangible,
white lady saw the they was called Uncle Tom. The black people.
But if her work was tangible, but we should see the tangible.
I can see that.
Nah,
hold on, one mic.
Yeah, but if her work was tangible, right? I'm with the idea that it wasn't that popular. Just because we say Afrocentrics and pro-black and all of these things, civil rights and all, that doesn't always encompass the masses, right? So if we're going to put her work as prevalent amongst Afrocentrics, where is, and I'm not talking about in academia white people, I'm talking about in academia Black people, outside of academia Black people. Where were they? Their work should be prevalent too. Like, hold on, that's pseudoscience is fuck.
No, they're not prevalent because they was just they was parroting, the standard quo.
Yeah, it wasn't. They wasn't.
I think they was going to work every day.
Groundbreaking. Call it racism is groundbreaking. When you make crazy ass, you know what I mean? Unsubstantiated shit about race and melanin.
Melanin makes you walk on water.
Yeah, that's the shit that's groundbreaking.
I don't think you need science to prove that.
Yeah, but there were actual people. There were Black academics who pushed back.
That's what we need to talk
about. Dr. Clarence Walker. Yeah, Dr. Clarence Walker. We can't go home again. An argument about Afrocentrism. He targeted Clarke, Diop, Jeffries, and Afrocentrism in general. He called Afrocentrism a mythical view of the past. He said that they were replacing white lies with black fantasies. He said
Brass, what's the book again? Hold on. What's the book
again? I was about to say. Yeah.
I got the book. It's called We Can't Go Home.
We Can't Go Home Again. It's in 2001. He's an African American history out of UC Davis.
You know who suggested that book to me?
Chief X. Who?
Chief X.
I was about to say.
That's funny.
He was the first one. He was the first one to take it.
And y'all keep saying why didn't anybody get pushed back. Wait till the coon. We're gonna be called every coon in the book when these shows.
Of course.
So,
hey,
Chef, I didn't say why. I'm saying where were they, and their stuff should be prominent and big up, just like hers were.
What is him? Dr. Adolph Reed. It's called. He wrote something called the Jesse Jackson phenomenon. He went to Ivy League school, University of Pennsylvania, political science. That's probably. It says.
If y'all need PDFs, let me know. I'll probably get y'all PDFs.
I was about to ask Chef, could he drop it? Because he used the book man, but if you can find it, please.
Phenomenon. But hold on, listen to what he said. He said
the first one too.
Race essentialism and psi-race theories. He rejected framing racism as spiritual or biological. He argues that economic class, not melanin or psychology, explains inequality. Scorns any narrative suggesting biology versus white fragility. He said these ideas are more comforting than they are useful. They're not politically serious or ever taken serious, and more damaging than white supremacy itself. Dr. Tunde Adeleke, The Case Against Afrocentrism in 2009, she argued against Diop. She said, y'all keep replacing Afrocentrism, you're replacing critical history with myth making. He says what you're doing is the racial gatekeeping of knowledge, and symbolic pride is now, oh shit. Where Logic at? Logic in here? You need to look this lady up because Logic said this to me. She said, you have to be careful if we run with these narratives that these thought-keeping gatekeepers go with. Symbolic pride has now become the substitute for actual scholarship.
What's her name? I want to see if she got any books.
Dr. Tunde Adeleke, Adeleke. Her book is The Case Against Afrocentrism. Dr. Stephen Howe.
Wait, no, that's a man. Dr. Tunde Adeleke is a man. He's out of Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adeleke.
Out of Mississippi State University.
Oh, no, I might be confusing them with Dr.
Okay, hold on. How you spell her name? How you spell her last name?
Tunde, and then her last name Adeleke.
And did anyone get the second guy's name? The Adolf?
He said that. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, that's hold on.
Dr. Adolph Reed Jr.
Adolph Reed Jr. Okay. Yeah.
And this is
you got somebody.
Oh, that's a Jesse Jackson phenomenon. Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah.
This is a white scholar at the that came up during that time. Says he interviewed multiple black scholars who privately criticized Diop and Clarke, but like Chef said, wouldn't present it based on the black power of the time, not the racist notions of the time. Now that is something I never thought
of the time.
The reason why they say no, but this is the reverse narrative of the Jim Crow and the water fountains of the Greyhound. They didn't want to go. There's not that they did it because of that. People didn't critique them because you'd be going against black power at the time.
Okay.
You'd be going against like the overarching black power movement of the time. But
let's add that to our discussion. Let's not make that the whole because that's what happened.
No, I'm just saying.
But hold on. What happens in these conversations is something like that will become the overarching thing.
No, this is a good point.
No, hold on. No, I would add that to our current conversations. That's what I'm saying about, and I think we all agree relative to the time. See, just even sticking in that time, we found out something. Well, I found out something.
Right.
I don't think it's an anachronism though, Hitch, because I think it still happens today. Like I don't think it's something. I get what you're saying.
A lot of these people.
No. I agree. I'm just saying, like Brass read it. It was something else going on major, at that time that may have made people think twice about saying, hold on, that don't sound right. Where's the science? Like, you know what? I'm not getting my ass
that book, Not Out of Africa, bro. Like the whole Not Out of Africa thing with Mary Leftwich, bro. She breaks this shit down so good, so well, bro. Like everything y'all saying, everything these newer scholars that y'all mentioning saying, like she broke all that shit down, like the harms and all that. She talked about how the students' parents, you know, they paid for a good education. They paid top dollar for a top-notch education, and you in here teaching these kids wild shit. That's another grift. It's another scam. That's how we get scammed, and we sit up and make excuses for scam artists, grifters, and 3-card money dealers, bro. That's all I'm saying. But go ahead, y'all. Keep going.
So that's Stephen
I just want to real quick. I did hear what you said there, Brass, and I'm just taking my second to kind of bask in. They had experts telling them back then that y'all ain't worrying about accuracy at all, and then they would go on to write shit like the Iceman did.
No, but they also were hiding out. He said too, though they were also on the low because of backlash. Yes,
but the words
something else going on
that I like is that I've heard you say this to me, is that they're using myth making and calling it scholarship. And that's something. It says you got to be careful that the symbolic pride you get from these lies will become a substitute for actual scholarship and what actually is going on. You said that to me at least 1 million times, bro. At least 1 million times.
We need some black spirituality people in here, like people who know about that. Like
guess what the next name is, though? Malefi, Dr. Malefi Asante.
Hey, the real line was they making white lies into black fantasies. That was
Look what Malefi Asante
then you combine that with you look up and you say, why there's so many goddamn psychiatrists around here?
Yo, you stuck on that psychiatrist. You need to do a show on that. It says Asante pushed back against racial essentialism even while defending Afrocentrism. He criticized black supremacist readings of history and warned against melanin mysticism, critiquing Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Neely Fuller, and Francis Cress Wilson. He was just trying to clean up Afrocentrism, not burn it down. And then the last one they got is Dr. William Jelani Cobb from Columbia University. He says the conspiracy race-based thinking in the black community never would pass a factual test, and he abhors it when people bring it up to him as actual scholarship. It says black scholars did push back on Wilson, Clarke, and Diop, but they did it in coded language or academic books, not on TV. Most were not trying to embarrass the community at the time, but they also knew that this stuff would not hold up under scrutiny and would be problematic for future generations. That would be us.
My points exactly. That last sentence.
That was great.
That was great.
But there was also a lot of argument about who let these people had all of this impact and they were running amok and they fucked up a lot of shit. And I'm just talking in plain English, obviously. But now we're finding, that wasn't the case. It
was finding that back then.
No. I'm just saying. And I don't know about y'all, but me and my group, I ain't heard of Francis Cress Wilson until about 2 years ago. 3 tops. So even impact. Now, someone can say her work might have impacted somebody you do know. Though. Yeah. Hold on. That's where I'm going. Her work may have impacted people who you do know about. So that goes back to, okay, we got the person out of here. Let's look at the impact of the work. So there was other things going on back then.
You might have not heard of her, but you heard about her.
I just said that. I just said that.
I like that last line though. Most are trying not to embarrass the community, but they knew that this stuff didn't hold up under scrutiny and would be problematic for future generations.
That's a killer line right there.
So if our grandkids ask us, how can we get Umar out of here? Hold on. What are we going to say when they ask us, why didn't we get Umar up out of here?
I'm trying to get
and
him.
We're gonna tell them, hey, we're gonna tell him we didn't follow his. They don't know what that is. We didn't follow him. We didn't hit the like button. We didn't subscribe. We didn't send no money into school. We even did a show about it. You know,
silence and support. But I don't want to be silent. I don't want, if my son come up to me after his first day at Ohio State University asking me about melanin theory, I want to already have said, watch this show, I already told him about it. See, I'm telling you, I take people's silence as support. Mm-hmm. When you know something and you constantly throwing John Henry Clarke in my fucking face, but you ain't bringing up the fact that he wrote the foreword to Iceman Inheritance, that now I'm charging you. Now the charge goes to you. Why aren't you bringing me? And that's why I was saying what I was saying to Sosa about clarity. Don't ask me for all this clarity when it ain't an equal thing.
It ain't on both.
Y'all get the clarity. You do the clarity when y'all do the that stuff. Don't. I'm not claiming to be overly scientifically literate. I do my research and this and the other in the way I do it, how I was taught. But I don't have to be completely clear on something. If a person's saying John Henry Clarke, Diop, you saying all these names, Leonard Jeffries I hear Leonard Jeffries mainly on Sonetta. If I ever watch, that's one of the names, Jabari, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Diop, John Henry Clarke. I ain't never once heard any of them say that he wrote the foreword on the Iceman Inheritance, of overtly racist book. I never heard
they wouldn't even think nothing.
I never heard that they were supporting the melanin theory, all of that stuff. I never heard that stuff.
Yeah, they actually support that. You know what I'm saying? Most of them people that you name like actually support that kind of shit. So they wouldn't think to like qualify it with Dr. Henry Clarke wrote the foreword to the Iceman. They wouldn't think of it in that way. You know what I mean?
I appreciate y'all putting books in the book section. I gotta start, remembering to do that. So thank y'all for putting books in there. I just put 2 in there. I think that we were kind of talking about, and whoever's on these chats, remind, if we're in front of our computer, especially me, and we're talking about a person, and you got a book, let me know. I can try to get the PDF and put it in there. I ain't gonna remember every time, but just
then in the court of law, right, withholding information can get you locked up.
Silence and support. Yeah, your argument can't be, I just didn't tell you.
Yeah, that's withholding information.
Yeah, and that's why when we was talking earlier about, I didn't want to make the same mistake of touting. I didn't want to. Yes, it's a harsh stance on her, but I didn't want to overly be like, well, she did this and she did that, and she did this. But a black doctor, even if she didn't know she was doing it, and the thing is she intelligent or isn't she? Like, it's like these guys that are doing these shows on these conscious community channels, I could be like, I don't know, I don't even think they that intelligent. So when they say stupid shit, it's like, but this is a doctor from Howard, specifically in psychiatry. This is the brain. She knows how to decipher somebody's dream. She don't know.
She would absolutely know what words to use to grab your attention too, right? She would know all kind of ways to talk to you.
She knows what her words are doing to you psychologically. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, she would have all type of ways to subliminally tell you what she's trying to tell you, right? She's over equipped to communicate. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
she's a devil.
Yeah.
But even if
how many books does she have? How many books does she have? I know the ISIS paper. Somebody said Osiris something. Is that her too? Because I would want to hear what she says. Like, we don't gotta ponder. No, I'm saying we can read the quotes. That's what I'm talking about. We can read the quotes.
You don't have to read her though. That's the thing. Like,
I want to read the quotes though. No, you may not.
Go read it.
You can listen to her.
But I need her books though.
No, he want to read it. He likes to do that stuff from the source. I'm not. I'm just. We're different in that way. But I know he likes to read it, so it's no confusion.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be confusion. Oh, Brad, we found that out. Hey, everybody can read the same word. It's gonna be
we done that live, but
like,
because sometimes people can't read and shit. I know what you mean.
Read them shit,
right?
Yeah.
With a Sar
I'll find
Imhotep,
the books.
he always tell you to go buy Aluja Volume 10 and Aluja Volume 12, right? You know what I mean? But thing is, I don't have to buy Aluja Volume shit. I can just listen to the shit you saying. That's it. Like that, and I can judge. Like you stand up in front of an audience enough times, everything you done wrote in the book, you be done said it. And you know, you understand what I'm saying? Like if you stand in front of an audience enough times, that audience don't have to go buy your book to hear what you're saying. That's all.
I disagree. I think both can be true. I think both can be true.
Hey Corey, but in the a slight pushback on that would be when you get a next level pseudo from an OG pseudo, that next level pseudo might put extra sauce and ingredients in the recipe that even the original pseudo ain't say. So I still would like to hear what this person's saying. Like that's why I think they say that these people aren't direct reflections of Francis Cress Welsing versus spiritual cousins. You know what I mean? Maybe connections to it or whatever.
So let me ask specifically hits, right? Because I know that you were talking about damages and stuff like that earlier, and I tried to stay away from it because I feel like I'm almost claiming that I can quantify it, and I know I can't, right? So that's why I'm staying away from that. But when you look at the Sarnetta situation, where you have an environment where people are trying to like develop this worldview and this political ideology, and they're trying to find some way where Francis Cress Welsing fit into that, right? So now you got a group of people who are almost trying to find a way to use what she's saying politically or even socially, however you'd want to look at it. And I like that's where like, but that's what she was kind of advocating for people to do then. And then so you can't really, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing is all the way around the board. Like it's just you gotta, like for me, that's unfortunate that somebody has to, you know, I guess get shot over this, but like I feel crazy allowing her to be the one with the gun. You get what I'm saying? She don't seem I don't think I could trust her. You get what I'm saying? I think that's just all I'm really trying to say. Like like the people, the few people who do get a hold of it, they don't seem to do.
No, I'm glad you said that part because I keep not looking at it from the conscious community standpoint, and that's probably wrong. So in the conscious community, which is a small part of just say the African American community, right? That may be major. So I'm not going to use the word damage. I'm going forward. I'm going to try to use the word impact. The impact would be on a small group. No, in a small. How can I say it? On a small group and in that small group, right? No, on a small group in a small group. Conscious community would be the small group, and her impact even inside of there. I don't think everybody in the conscious community espouses what she says, right? So she would have some impact there, larger in there, you know, in that community than she would across the board. So if I don't want to say hyper focus, but if we focus on the conscious community, her impact in that community would be heavier, and in the Afrocentric community. So how do we know outside of that in our community across the gamut? Not that we have to make room for that. That's built into a community. You're going to have people who are just 9-to-5ers. You're going to have scholars. You're going to have nuts. You're going to have all kind of people. There's room for that. Whether we want that room or not is built into the community. I just think it gets overblown that it has a larger impact than it does. Now, should it have any impact? No. But that's not realistic. I don't think our community, again, is too much different than any other group. You're going to have different segments. And there's room in there for that. There is. You know, unless, again, you in a cult where they can say there's no room in here for this. What's that? Women wearing pants, men wearing, you know, whatever. Or people wearing anything other than white. You can get real strict. But across our board is African Americans, that small community, conscious community, it has some impact over there. Are we going to find people that still follow? Yeah. But I don't think the impact is as great. So I'm going to stay away from damage. But I don't think the impact is as great. And it shouldn't be any. I definitely agree. Especially from someone of her stature. I agree with that. But unfortunately, communities, ethnic groups, that shit is built in. That it's just, and other groups can come in and they exploit that. Right? That's how conquering takes over. You come into a new group and you go, wow, they believe some shit that ain't true. That if they dance on the ground, it's going to rain. You know, or they don't know what gunpowder is. Or, you know, they think a loud noise is God being mad. Like, it can be exploited. But within the group, you know, there's room for that. That's all I'm saying. There's room for it. And whether it should or shouldn't be,
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm not. I mean, even while I'm asking you the question, I too have to realize how much emphasis I'm putting on the impact she has in the conscious community. And I feel like on one hand, that's not like that. That's obviously not the bigger concern. But on the second hand, I feel like that's who I'm talking about, right? Because the larger world seem to have no problem assessing her work scientifically in using it for whatever they use it for. But I don't think, by and large, people who are get exposed to it are trying to politicize it. Whereas the people here are in danger of trying to politicize it, which is a unique, I guess, problem all in itself there. So you kind of got a point, but if if it's bad,
you kind of got a point.
I mean, yeah, you got a point. I'm not gonna fight you if what you're saying makes sense. Yeah, if you making sense, I ain't gonna fight you. Yeah, so you know, I don't even me. I gotta find myself. Damn, I am talking about the conscious community, but I guess that would be who needs protection from from Cress's question. So
it's just a clarification. Like, I think maybe I wasn't clear of the field of people that I was looking. And I'm not, maybe, hold on. Oh, they're talking about this group. My bad. I'm the one. But thank God, y'all, we got Brass on the job. He's taking up the mantle of dealing with the conscious community. So all the problems will be solved.
So I'm right there with him. I'm right there with him.
Hey, hold on. If you want to show him some support, his Cash App is at Brass.
Oh, so y'all niggas. I'm about to tell Chief X he wasn't first.
I'm right there. I'm right there with him, yo. This is a huge endeavor. I ain't gonna let him just do that by
go
himself.
to the general chat and tell Chief X he wasn't first. I'm about to fuck with Chief X now.
So that's
just start. Everybody go in that motherfucker and say, Chief X, you lost your mind. You weren't first.
You lost your damn mind.
Random people test that. I want to see if he go crazy, start cussing everybody.
He is.
So look,
No. Tell him Chef said it. You gotta give him a target.
No, I'm gonna put Chef says so, nigga.
When y'all say that that is only a small group that's affected by pseudoisms that come out of Afrocentrism, I disagree. Because all of these pseudoisms, y'all done heard bits and pieces of them before. Now, for me, working in a barbershop for over 20-something years, I can say that there's a lot of things that's said in the Black community, and we don't know where that shit came from. And it's spoken of like gospel, and we don't even question it, right? An older person can say something in the barbershop, and we won't know where they got it from, but since they 50 or close to 60, we let them get that shit off. And there be little kids there. I remember being a little kid, hearing crazy shit in the barbershop and thinking that it came from older Black men, that shit was the truth. And I didn't question it, and I kept that shit until I was grown And then that's when I started to break that shit down. And then you think, damn, I remember hearing that shit when I was young. Everybody that heard wild shit when they was young and didn't have the tools to check it, and it became a part of your ethos until you was able to work your way out of that shit. So I'm saying Frances Cress Welsing, whether you know her by name, whether you know Naeem Akbar by name or Diop by name, you didn't heard those pseudoisms being repeated and you ain't have no way to check it, and you just put that in your brain and you went with it. You feel me? We all heard that the ancient Egyptians was black. You dig what I'm saying? We all heard that shit. We ain't know who exactly that shit came from. We all heard that, you know, our melanin or our skin is something special to that shit. We ain't know where that shit came from. You know what I mean? So I'm not of the opinion that this stuff don't affect the larger black community.
I never said that. What I'm saying is, in the larger black community, right? We also heard we was all what? Indian, like we got some Indianness. Everybody,
and we heard that in our family.
Yeah, exactly. But now with DNA, found out a lot. It's straight bullshit. Moved on. Now, even when I heard that, say from my grandmother, passed down to my mother, did I run down the street, me and my buddies? Yeah, I'm an Indian. You probably Indian too. I'm saying how it fits into general population of people. Not that you haven't heard it or you even suspect it, but in your daily operation, it has a limiting effect on you. That's why I said the impact. Just because you heard something doesn't mean it has a major impact on you. Like I don't know anyone who grandparents said that to them actually said, hold on, they giving them this? Hold on, you mean they got casinos? Hold on, you mean now in a real life case, check this out. I was doing family foster care for a while. One of my family members got some trouble and the babies had to go somewhere. Nobody else, you know, babies is a lot of work. Everybody know that. I volunteered. The girl's parents or the girl didn't want it to go. She's getting, and I'm just giving some information. She was on social services. She didn't want to lose her social service because once kids go, they ain't gonna give you no money. So she was able to walk in family court and go, 1/18th Native American. The court had to stop. They have to go to a tribe and see if this family is listed. Boom, 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 boom. If so, they get some say so in that matter. I'm just a cousin. I'm not an aunt, uncle, or grandparent, so I don't have a lot of say so. So it stopped the court system. So there are real world implications. Then they found out, and this was a white girl, or she was mixed. I'm sorry, she was black and white, but it stopped the court system. So in real world implications, if you yell out, I'm an Indian in court, they're going to, oh, hold on, let's see, you know, we got to deal with certain bylaws, whatever. But when they found out she wasn't, that was it. End of case. So there's real world implication. And then, okay, my grandmother said, oh yeah, you know, we're Blackfoot. I'm like, what's a Blackfoot? Oh, it's an Indian. Okay. And in any state you live in, parks are named after Indian. Here we got Algonquin. Like states are named after Indian nations. So that don't mean I'm one. Even if I heard I was one, I didn't run down the street going, yeah, I'm an Indian. There was no evidence. There was no proof. My grandmother didn't act like an Indian. My mom didn't act like one. I'm thinking Indians is on a tribe, on a reservation. They look a certain way. So yeah, again, the impact. I'm not saying they didn't have any, but what was the amount of impact on the community across the, you know, gamut? That's what I'm saying, Chef. I'm not saying, and you being a barber, I'm sure you heard all type of shit. My best friend was a barber. So, but that don't mean when they walk out of there, they think if they watch a movie and ain't no black people building the pyramids, they gonna be mad. No, they're gonna watch the movie. Okay, they said they were, you know, this color, not the, and what's the impact on their life? That's what I'm saying.
All right, everybody done.
I think the irony in what you were saying is like they were swearing up and down that the impact of knowing that black people built the pyramids would have done some serious work in the black community. That's what that's what they were saying. But that might be a sidebar. Go ahead.
You know that the impact, like you've been saying, if black people knew all of this, that the Egyptians were black and everything white people said was false, what would that have changed? And let's just say in the United States for black people. That's what I think, or how does that help us now? I think